It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeart Radio. Just ahead, we talk with the president of Vintage Air, the aftermarkets. My God. Did you know you might...
He's the guy that works at the radio station.
Here's the chief engineer of a group of radio stations, and he just kind of throws us under the bus right out of the bat.
Trips over the dog.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just adding to the
Steps
misery.
on the microphone.
Thank you, David. Just ahead, we talked to the president of Vintage Air, and I know that he is really proud of the fact that he's come onto a really class act show here. It's the aftermarket's king of AC, Vintage Air. We talked with the president. We'll also have the upcoming events calendar and this week's automotive news headlines. That and more surprises just ahead on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with David Ainsley, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin always. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us. It has been another eventful morning here in the In Wheel Time studios for 2 hours. We've been trying to figure out what the problem was, and the problem was somebody that's not here. Again, so at any rate, we're just going to kind of move on. And Conrad's got this smirk on his face. It's like, okay.
Because he had another donut. That's what it was.
No comment.
No comments. All right, so let's just get right to it, shall we? His name is Rick Love, and he is the president of Vintage Air. Rick, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Hey, I'll let you know we're looking for some engineering help. So
Be right there, Rick.
Yeah, well, give us about 3 hours. We'll be right there. He's in San Antonio. He's right down I-10. If you can get there through Brookshire.
Yeah, but we don't want to add that to the Vintage Air because it's such a good system.
It is.
Our engineering sometimes leaves a lot to be desired.
You know, I guess I knew that you guys were in San Antonio, but I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So how did you wind up with a great company in San Antonio, Texas, of all places? Because you live there.
Jack Nerad, he grew up an Air Force kid, and his dad was stationed here in San Antonio, so he did it part of his career. So Jack's teenage formative years, he grew up just outside San Antonio in Schertz, Texas. And so this was his home. And when he graduated from college in San Marcos after getting out of the Air Force, he wanted to manufacture hot rod parts. He was the hot rod guy, and where better to think about air conditioning than South Texas, like y'all are. Like we are.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, you guys are much more used to 100-degree days over there than we are here in Houston. Although I think we're the king of humidity here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
definite difference.
You know, I was browsing your website today, and I did not realize that you guys make all sorts of stuff, not just air conditioning, bits and pieces. But let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about a couple of things. One is SureFit and the Builder Series. And I'll let you explain what SureFit and Builder Series is. Now, we're talking about air conditioning, and generally speaking, your units go into hot rods as an aftermarket replacement sometimes, or a car that never had air conditioning. You guys fit the bill with all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And when you say hot rods, the definition of hot rod has changed so much through the years. When Jack started the company back in '76, his initial market was the pre-48 cars, which was the street rods, hot rods at the time.
Yeah. And
now, this is 45 years later, and the definition of a hot rod is a little different. A guy's got a '68 Camaro is a hot rod to him. And the guy that's got an '85 Chevrolet pickup, the way he's got it fixed up, could be his hot rod. And John Force talks about his funny car is his hot rod.
Yes.
He does his interviews and everything. So it's kind of a looser definition now. And the difference you mentioned our Builder Series and our SureFit kits. And our SureFit systems are more than just an air conditioning system. It's a bolt-in system designed specifically for a vehicle, and it's a heat, cool, defrost system. So it's not just an add-on air conditioning system. It replaces what you had from the factory. If you had a non-air car originally, this is going to be an air conditioning system that's going to bolt in. If you had, like some cars had vents in the dash, whether they were air or non-air, our system connects to those vents. If you had a factory air car, you get rid of all of that stuff that was under the that's stuck on the firewall and all of that. Our systems are more compact. They're electronically controlled. So it's a modern climate control system for a car, and it's designed for that vehicle. We have over 169 different bolt-in SureFit systems.
I had no clue
that are year, make, and model specific.
Yeah, and our latest one, the ones we've just released, is for the 82 to 88 Monte Carlo, the G-body Monte Carlos.
Yeah.
So
now, when you said
pre
48, not a lot of cars had air conditioning, and some probably didn't even have heat back then. How do you design a system that makes it look factory, or as we say, vintage for that vehicle?
The pre-48s, and that's where our builder series comes in more, because when you start getting a later model car, like from what we would call a later model from the mid-50s on up, those cars are pretty well engineered from the factory. Everything's in the same place on all those cars. When you're building a pre-48 vehicle, a street rod, a hot rod, you're deciding what dash you put in the car. You're deciding what engine you put in the car. You're deciding where the steering column is going to be, what gauges you use. So the builder series is several heat, cool, defrost modules, the air handler, the evaporator, that goes up behind the dash. We have several different sizes, and it allows you as a builder, or as your builder, if you're having a car built, to tailor a system for the kind of car you're building, what you're doing. We've got a lot of different vents, louvers, different look of controls that can be hidden, controls that augment the theme of your dash. So you've got a lot of different options. You were on the website, as you said. We've got a lot of different options to control a system. And again, that air handler is in most cases a heat, cool, defrost system. So even in a pre-48 vehicle, you can add that.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about heater only. Now, we're in Texas, but not everybody is here in Texas. And, I remember many years ago, I had a 1975 Chevy Monza, and I took delivery of it. It was in November or December, and I had to make a little road trip up to Dallas, and a cold front had come through, and the heater didn't work.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
And, it really gets uncomfortable really quickly if you're dealing with temperatures right around the
freezing.
Yeah, the freezing mark. And I will tell you that you need a heater every once in a while. And I understand that you guys do have heater-only kits.
Yep, we do. We have heater defrost systems. They're hot water heaters. And interestingly, you talked about some of the old cars that didn't have heaters. The early accessory heaters, in most cases, the Southwind they were called, or Stuart Warner made one as well. They were actually gasoline-fired heaters.
Oh.
You would have a heater inside your vehicle that you would tee into your fuel line, and it had a little spark plug on there. So when you turned on the heat, you were basically putting gas inside your car and then firing that gas to give you heat.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, the only thing you needed was marshmallows and chocolate. You can make s'mores inside the car.
Right, exactly. So yeah, the heaters that we do now are like your later model cars. They're hot water heaters. They use the engine water coolant to provide your heat.
What is a front runner?
Front runner is our front accessory drive system. And, the factories, they have accessory drive systems.
Sure.
We used to just call them belts and pulleys, but now is once you get into the serpentine belt systems, they're actually systems designed. The OEMs call them FIADs, front accessory drive systems. And but our front runner, we were the first company that introduced these back in 2000, and it was a drive system designed as a complete package. Whereas in most cases with some of these older vehicles, like you pointed out earlier, that didn't have air. So now you've got to go find a different pulley to add that air conditioning compressor to your car. And then, now you're going to add air conditioning and possibly electric fan. You need more alternator capability than you had. You got to have more charging capability than you had from the factory. So what we came up with was an accessory drive system, or is an accessory drive system that's spring tensioned, uses a single serpentine belt. And we designed the system around pulley sizes and the right components to give you the right ratios to spin these components at the proper speeds. They bolt statically, so you don't have to adjust any belts. They have, again, spring tensioner, so that keeps the wear on the water pump down, like the OEMs discovered. Most water pump failures are due to over-tensioning of belts. So when you have a spring tension belt, you eliminate that wear factor from your water pump, so you get better better longevity out of your water pump, more hours. So, but these accessory drive systems, that way we provide at this point 170 amp alternator.
Wow.
And a high performance water pump. And then the compressor that works with our system. And again, all the pulley ratios to spin those accessories at the proper
speed,
proper ratio.
And is that for all of the American manufacturers, Ford, GM, and Chrysler?
We've got some pretty good coverage, not so much Chrysler yet, but we've got small block, big block Chevrolet, small block Ford, LS, LT. We've just come out with a new front runner for the LS LT family that's basically centered around our own casting that we have cast right here in the USA. And that casting basically has a cartridge water pump and mounting places for all those accessories. So you bolt this casting on the front of your LS. You know, the LTs, a lot of them have the offset water pump, which works fine in a later model vehicle, but in a lot of the newer vehicles, I say newer, you know, the 60s, 70s, our casting brings that water pump back into the center of the car where it looks a lot better and you get more visually pleasing look out of it.
You know, all I can think of is that if I'm going to get my mindset, if you can imagine that at my age, my mindset.
Or this morning.
Or this morning. That's exactly right. Let's see, do I put my left foot or right foot out of bed?
Oh, boy.
First, I was thinking, okay, so I'm really kind of looking toward a 34 Ford, but I'm going to put an LS engine in it, and I want to have air conditioning in it. I want to have heating in it, and I want to have enough power off of the alternator that'll charge the battery and do all the things that I need to do. What I really need to do is, first of all, I need to come up with a system, since I'm designing it, what I'm going to put under the dash, how I'm going to put it under the dash.
Well, why should you worry about that? Why don't
We
you
got
hire
them,
somebody who's a
yeah.
subject matter expert
Exactly.
in it who builds them
Well, that's what I was getting
with
to.
the flexibility?
Yeah. And so do you guys have somebody that I can call and say, okay, this is what I've got. How can I go about doing this the most efficient, easiest way to get the job done?
And we've got 11 sales guys that are on the phone all day long. They answer emails. We also have a distributor network of about 1,200 different distributors worldwide. I mean, not just in the U.S. Australia is a huge car culture country, as well as New Zealand, Europe too. We've got some dealers in Finland and in Sweden and in the UK. We've got dealers worldwide that can help you sort through that, as well as the people we have in house.
And you can actually make an air conditioning system in a Jaguar work, because they never did on their own.
Well, they did. They just didn't work well in most cases, especially in the Houston area there.
Well, the great thing about what you guys are offering is a system that's been well thought out and is totally integrated, from the drive system to the placement, the gear ratio, so the speeds of each component, as well as the air conditioning system
And the aesthetics.
Yeah, you know that's really the choice to make, and with the flexibility of a builder needing this design, here's your selection of designs that we offer. Generally, what you need is going to be in there, much less being able to. I think you were talking about how to add air conditioning to a 70 or 69 model Chevy Nova, and an integrated system that's all ready to go.
Well, he's got that in a box.
Yeah.
Here's
Exactly.
the whole thing. It's going to fit the whatever in a small block Chevrolet in there, if that's what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of the distribution hoses that on my 70 have got these big old ratty holes in them now. That's why the AC doesn't blow. All that gets
No,
fixed.
your AC
by
doesn't
using
blow
the
because it
system.
won't start.
Yeah, the engine
There you
won't.
go.
That's
There,
it.
That's it.
So, okay, let's just use a 1970 Chevy Nova. It's basically, it started off as a 6-cylinder. I've now upgraded it to a small block Chevy V8, fuel injection, and it's nothing special, but it's mine.
And it's a daily.
And it could be a daily driver
Yeah.
or a weekend nice car, that sort of thing. Do you have a kit for a small block Chevy that's made for the Nova?
We do. We've got a SureFit kit for the 70 Nova, and comes the evaporator kit. The air handler will bolt right in under your dash. You'll take that factory heater out of there. Our kit will bolt right in under your dash. You can either use your original control panel. We've got a conversion kit that's included that would convert those mechanical cable operated levers to electronic operation. Or we have a replacement control panel for that car that's a little newer design has a PC board with LED backlighting and everything that bolts right in, mimics the stock look. All the AC and refrigerant and heater hoses exit out through your kick panel area up behind the hood hinge. We give you a sheet metal powder coated cover for your firewall, and the hoses kind of come out in front of where the battery is there, so they kind of hide a little bit, cleans up your engine compartment a little bit. Have a bolt-in condenser kit that goes in front of your radiator, brackets specific to the Nova. So it's basically a bolt-in system. And you've got your choice when you get to the compressor on the engine. We've got several different options available for steel brackets if you want to keep the V-belts on your car. Or like you say, you could upgrade to a fully accessorized belt system, drive system, front runner system.
Now,
so you've got a lot of options as you go.
On your AC systems, are you using R134A or the YF1234?
Right now, we're still using 134A in our aftermarket systems. We have experience with the 1234YF. We manufacture the system for the Ford GT as well, and that's a YF system. But right now, the 134A and for the foreseeable future is available. It's reasonably priced, widely available in your area. Most guys are set up to charge with that. You've got to have a separate charging station to work with 1234, and there's some other little things that come along with it. So at this point in the aftermarket, we're staying with 134A.
So with Don's 70 Nova that he's redoing, is it affordable? I mean, he doesn't maybe need everything. Can you piecemeal a project together? And the affordability, I mean, low end, high end, what is that?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and the nice thing about our systems is any of the parts of the kits are available separately. So, if you're working in the engine compartment and you want to get up, say, hey, we all work on budgets with this. So, okay, I'm going to start off just buying the compressor and the compressor bracket, get the pulleys I need so I can get all that set up on the engine. You can buy that separately. You can buy the condenser kit separately. You can buy the inside air handler, the evaporator kit separately. So all that as a system, as a kit, you're looking at a little less than $2,000 for a complete system. That's compressor bracket, your condenser, your hose kit, your inside heat, cool, defrost system, and everything.
You'll spend more than that getting a compressor replaced at a dealership.
Yeah,
Exactly. So I think it's a very affordable. Now, if you want to upgrade to a front runner, depending on, you're going to be looking at another, $2,000, $2,200, something like that. But again, then you're getting an alternator, you're getting a water pump, you're getting all the accessories that go along with it.
And everything's lined up the first time you bolt it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
How wonderful. Rick, we want to come and hang with you all the time. Is that a problem?
In air conditioning.
Come on down. We just had our annual open house last Saturday, actually, and we had about 370 cars here. We had a group from Houston come in and another group from north of Austin and everything. We had a great group here and everything. So yeah, we're always welcome. We're happy to show off our facility. We've got 160 people here, and all our systems are made here in the USA. And we've got a great group of employees, and we're always proud to show off our facility.
Well, we sure appreciate the time you took with us this Saturday morning. Thanks so much, and best of luck to you. And for everybody that wants to get a hold of you, it's vintageair.com, correct?
Yes, it is. Very good, and we appreciate the time and hope everybody has a good Saturday.
Let's stay in touch. Thanks,
Thank
Rick.
you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us, we don't know why you ever would, but shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com. Time now for the events calendar. Mr. DeLong.
Well, as usual, we always have Nifty 50s up in the Woodlands and the Kemah Car Meet down in Kemah. But a few other things are going on. Needville High School is having their concert of cars tomorrow, and that starts at 9 a.m. and goes to 3:30, and it's a fundraiser for their music department.
Very cool.
And
will the band be there?
The band will be there.
We're pulling the band back together.
Putting the band back together. And then 11:30 to 2 p.m. tomorrow, Classic Car Show at Second Baptist Church off of Shadow Creek in Pearland. 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock tomorrow is exotic cars and cigars. Everybody's got to have their pairing of names. Some of them are pretty cool.
Yep.
And that's at 27,030 Kirkendall up in the Woodlands. And finally, Paws and Cars waiting for the Willowbrook Foundation. That's the Main Street Loop in Houston, and it's an open car show, and that is tomorrow from noon to 4 p.m. off of Old Main Street.
All right. Well,
always good stuff going on.
Yeah.
always, yeah, most definitely. Well, we had a rare treat, or not so much a treat, but some sort of an anomaly on our Zoom calls this morning. And let's just take a look and see who's there, shall we?
Oh, it's Mike.
Oh my God! It's the old man himself. Oh my
Hello,
God!
boys.
Yeah. Well,
boy.
hello, Mike Mars.
I can't hear him.
Wait a minute.
Wait, we're losing
There
the
you go.
internet.
We
Wait
went
a
back
minute. Take that off. It's been a mistake. Just jacking with you, Mike.
No problem.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to yell at us.
don't yell at us.
We're all good
Yeah,
here.
we can hear the echo without you
Conrad's
yelling.
been yelling
Yeah.
at us since 6 this morning. Don't yell at us.
Yeah, we don't need any more yelling. Conrad's been doing enough of that. Mike Mars,
Yes, sir.
who is not with us in the studio today, but with us via Zoom. And Auto Tips from the Internet is his little bit and piece of today's show.
Mhm.
Okay, Mars, take it away.
So, Jeff, you got the video?
I do.
If you could run that, because
Yep, it is.
for some reason I can't share. More engineering going on this
Well, you
morning.
need to get to it because we've got the video. Well, we had the video up, but
It's-
it went to
There you go.
black. But
You're
anyway,
up.
You're
You're
there
up,
you go.
Mars.
All right,
All right.
go
Hubba,
for
hubba.
it.
Well, everything that we wanted to talk about, we talk about the car stuff, and you can take it to any shop and have anybody build you a motor. You can take it to any shop, have anybody build you basically a custom car, obviously. But if you want to do it by yourself, one of the first things you might look at is a cold air intake. They get lots of kits for a lot of vehicles. I think, Don, you have one on your Corvette. But if you wanted to do something else in addition to that, then you might want to add something to that cold air intake.
And
Yeah.
make
If
it
you'll go to the next one.
Go ahead, Mike. Don't worry about
We
that.
got it. You're good.
Okay. All right. Well, there's this thing that's called a air intake turbo. Now, this is a car intake turbinator. That's what this is. It fits inside the pipe of your air intake. Now, it's a dual fan turbine. So the air comes in and it spins the first time. And of course, it spins the second fan blade and that pushes the air down in the intake. So going on to the next one. Oh, it gets better, Conrad.
I was going to say, I'm not a fan, but that's fine.
So
No,
to
it would be a
speak.
turbine,
Well,
not a
that's
fan.
kind of the way it goes. So the next thing you're going to get to, so if you really want to do something different on top of that, you might find this Y pipe. It's a Y pipe that goes into it. And this is a picture of how it goes, where it fits in between the air intake and your manifold.
So,
And it adds probably at least 0 horsepower every time you run it.
so that
So-
way you can go from one cold air intake to 2 cold air intakes with a Y pipe.
That's right. And going on and doing the next thing that you might want to do, you can put a Y pipe in there out of your air filter box outlet. And from there, you can put 2 turbinators on there. So you'll have dual turbinators pushing air down into your intake.
Accomplishing absolutely nothing.
Have you been perusing the J.C. Whitney catalog again?
I tried to, and they've gone online, and they're hard to find now. So I had to go out and Google. This
Okay.
is Google
Good.
stuff. A lot of
Google
this
is your
stuff
friend.
Basically, it's available on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
You can buy anything from Amazon. So the next thing that you might want to do is you go, so you got the air going in, so we need to go to the exhaust. So one of the things you're going to do on the exhaust is probably put in a set of headers.
Well, headers are always a good thing to put on any car. I'll,
That's
I'll-
right.
I'll
That's gonna
buy
help
into the
get your air
headers.
out. And then
All the
from
rest of the
there,
stuff, no.
You're going to look at a dual exhaust system.
So you
So
just-
you got your dual exhaust system, but you might want to do a little bit more from there. You know, in the old days when we were drag racing, if we wanted to do cutouts, we had a pipe cap welded on the exhaust. You had to stop on the side of the road, get your wrench out, and unscrew it. Well, now they've got an electronic version of that you can actually put,
cutouts.
and it's actually got a key fob, so that you can be going down the road at 80 miles an hour, hit the key fob, and open up the exhaust wide open. So next time somebody comes behind a diesel and they roll some coal on you and you pump your cab full of black smoke, well, now you can shut down their audio system by blowing them out.
Well, and
But again, if you wanted to do even more,
Oh,
if you wanted
gosh.
to go the next step level,
Spend
well, then
more
you
money.
got to have some exhaust tips on this thing. And of course, everybody loves, the big thing of the diesel trucks is a 10-inch exhaust tip. So they make them now for just about everything. So if you want a big 10-incher on your Honda Civic,
absolutely,
you can't put one on your.
God, I've been
Civic.
looking for that for a long time.
Exactly. But the next thing that they found that was really popular in California, and David, you and your bunch may be interested in this, and it is a turbo sound whistler exhaust. And what this is designed to do is to mimic the sound of a pop-off valve. So I listened to them, I couldn't tell it. I couldn't hear the whistle or anything like that, but supposedly they do that. And it's a real simple device, looks just like this, kind of clamps in there, the air blows through it, and it makes this whistling sound. So you put one in your exhaust pipe to do that. Now, of course, if you've got dual exhaust pipes,
takes two.
Wait, you need two of them.
You need
Yep.
two.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about me? I've got
Easy
4
setup,
exhaust
easy
exits on the
installation.
Corvette.
Do that.
If I've got 4 exhaust tips on the Corvette, I need 4.
Yes, sir.
Can I have them different pitched?
Yeah, different
so
octaves.
it sounds like a quartet.
No, but you can put different sizes that will create a different sound.
Okay.
So you can either tune them all together, or you can have different sound.
All of this available for the simple price of
$19.95.
But wait,
Absolutely.
it comes with a get you knives.
But the best thing, so you get your dual exhaust set up, but if you really wanted something else, so Jeff, this next one, just let it play, and we'll walk through it real quick because I know we're running short on time. But the best thing I found, we talked about EVs, they're too quiet, they're developing sound systems so people can hear them. This is a system from Thor Electronic Exhaust. Now, this is the 2 system, and you can develop it. It even comes with an app for your phone. So the next time your hot rod EV shows up, it's not quite right, even though you can put a cover over it. But then again, you need it to sound right. And so you can put the sound on it and make it sound like a 32.4 with a small block. Or you've got somebody like my wife in her Kia Sorento. She wants a little bit more. She likes the sporty life so long as I'm not driving it. She don't mind going fast at her speed.
So
But
make it sound
she
like a
also
McLaren
put it
F.
in where it's got a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon sound exhaust coming out of it. And if you really want something good, because we are in Texas, I saved this one for the last, because we're in Texas, this is the truck market, we sell trucks, we got little trucks coming out, we got EV trucks coming out, so if you've got your little truck and you want to make it sound a little bit different, a little bit better, you can also pull up a 700 horse TRX Ram exhaust sound, and you pump it out, and these speakers are up underneath the car, so everybody outside hears this, not just you, so you can get the full experience of driving your hot rod without really driving your hot rod.
Mike J.C. Whitney.
Out
Mars.
of his world, Mars.
Yes, we appreciate all the time that you've took
Just some
this
things that
morning.
you might want to do to your Corvette, Don, just to kind of spruce it up a little bit.
or not. Thank you, Michael. The In Real Time Car Talk Show is part of the iHeart family and available 24/7 at iHeart.com and through the iHeart app. Just look for the In Real Time Car Talk button. We also stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. In Real Time Car Talk Show continues right after a quick break.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Kick off summer with Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition, Saturday, June 18th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate Father's Day, the start of summer, and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, June 18th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Want to take a minute to tell you about Gulf Coast Auto Shield, a Houston detail company like no other. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, You want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install ExoShield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com.
Live from Studio A, it's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Patrick Olson with Carfax joins us with the latest trends in used vehicles. Plus, we have the events calendar and the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Howdy, along with David Ainsley filling in for Mike. Kind of. We have King Conrad.
Everything's working.
King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. Yep. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us today. You know, we've got a special guest that I wanted to get on right away because we don't want to take up too much of his time because here's a busy guy.
Busy.
Patrick Olson with Carfax. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. You know, I went to the Carfax website this morning just to kind of see what you guys had going on. I did not know that you now have find used cars, and you can go through the Carfax website to take you to a Carfaxed used car that's for sale.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we work with dealers all over the country, and the best part about looking for used cars on Carfax is every listing on our site comes with a free Carfax for that car. So in an age where used cars cost way more than they ever have, it's more important than ever to understand the full history of that car, where it's been owned, how many miles are on it, where it's been kept, is it Arizona or is it Maine? And to be able to get that information for free when you're looking at a car, hugely valuable.
What about certified used cars? I read a story today that apparently there are dealers now that are going to have certified used cars that aren't necessarily their brand. Have you heard this?
Yes, there are a lot of dealers across the country that do their own certification. They will set up their own process of, usually 100 plus point inspection. They'll get their own extended warranty for a limited period of time. Usually it's anywhere from 6 months to a couple of years. Usually there's a mileage cap for that. And those are usually, pretty well-maintained cars that dealers are looking after. On the flip side, they can cost you a little bit more. But if you want peace of mind, certified cars can help.
So what are the latest trends that you're seeing on Carfax? When you guys get an inquiry about a particular car, do you track the particular brand and make, model, year, all of that sort of thing?
Well, I would say that when we look at any car, when we look at every car that has a VIN, right? So every car since 1981, we have information on at some level, all the way including cars that, are salvaged or no longer in operation. We have, details on that. So we're tracking every car that way. And the problem, though, is that we only know what people report. So if there's a guy who is constantly changing his own oil, doing all of his own work, it's hard for us to understand and track that because he's not dealing with the service shops that we deal with or dealing with the dealerships that we deal with. But for most people who go to, get their oil changed or who go and get their major work done at a body shop or a service shop, we certainly have our ability to tap into that. We have more than 60,000 service shops that we work with.
So Carfax, you have dealers, or shall we say service centers, that actually are Carfax notified. Where they
partners.
Partners. Okay, that's a good word to use. And so if I'm a car a repair facility and I want to be part of the Carfax family,
mm-hmm.
How does that work? I mean, do I call you on the phone and say I want to be a Carfax guy?
Well, hopefully we've called you first to suggest it to you. But what I would say is, in the value prop for your service center's customers is that the better it's tracked, the more valuable your car is. Right. So if you keep track of all your oil changes, all your major work, you talk about when the timing belt was replaced, that adds value to your car, because the next guy who wants to buy it, and there's almost always the next guy who wants to buy it, will see that as knowing that that's work he doesn't or she doesn't have to do, right? So we estimate that on average, having good records for your car is worth about $2,000 to the value of your car.
Oh yeah.
Not having those records, it becomes more of a crapshoot.
And Austin recently bought the Nissan Rogue.
Austin, your son.
Yeah, my son. And we got the Carfax report. And the thing I was impressed with was that truck was serviced by a Carfax reporter, a Carfax partner. So I knew exactly what had been done to the vehicle each step along the way, including the major engine work that was done on it.
The mileage
that was all
increments
reported.
And things,
yeah. So I was pretty impressed. I knew Carfax had gotten some repair and maintenance information, but this was extremely detailed.
And my question is, we have natural disasters. We have floods, hurricanes, and things.
Yes.
So you're dependent or relying on the dealerships, the reporters, or the insurance company to verify and certify a vehicle once a flood happens?
I would say some of all of that, right? So we definitely have a flood watch for free on Carfax.com. If you go to our flood damage page, you can check your VIN to see if it's ever been reported as having been damaged in a flood. So the problem, as you well know, is there are some states that don't include a flood totaled field on their title. And sometimes unscrupulous buyers will buy a car that's been tagged flood in one state, retitle it in the state that doesn't identify flood damage, and then try to sell it.
Oh.
But we try to track all of those flags as they move along, so we can warn people about, previous flood damage.
Right. It was a flood damage vehicle in Texas in 2017. Yeah. You're buying it in 2022, and it's gone through 2 states to basically wash the title. And yes, this is a flood damage vehicle. That's why it's important to go to Carfax and get that information, because your title probably might not say anything.
What are the biggest searches that are going on right now for used cars on the? What do you have more inquiries on? Are they SUVs, sedans, off-road vehicles? How do you drill it down?
Well, I would say right now we're definitely seeing a ton of interest in just better fuel economy, which of course, with gas at $5 a gallon. The problem with that is that it's running headlong into the American desire to be in an SUV and forget cars, right?
Right.
And I remember back in 2008 when people were panic selling their pickup trucks and SUVs, the last time we had a gas price spike. We seem to have forgotten that lesson. But now things that are fuel efficient are definitely going up. Now, on the plus side, there are more SUVs and trucks that are more fuel efficient, right? The new Ford Maverick, for example, with its hybrid engine, it gets upwards of 40 miles per gallon. And now the problem is they're so scarce because of the chip shortage that they're hard to get your hands on. But we definitely see at the moment just a ton of interest in better performing engines as gas prices remain high.
What style of vehicle is the most that you see on Carfax?
SUV. SUV far and away. Yeah,
mid-size,
anywhere from subcompact all the way up to Suburbans and Tahoes. They're all hugely popular. I mean, it's a runaway.
Yeah, and you say that you guys certify cars back to the 80s. How early? 81?
I think the 17 digit VIN came into effect in 1981. So anybody with any vehicle with a 17-digit VIN, and we don't certify them. Let's be clear. Any certification comes from the automaker, comes from a dealership.
We just
report on the data we have about that VIN.
Yeah.
So we are not in the business of certifying cars. We provide information, and a lot of it. We have something more like more than 25 billion records that we can reference.
Wow.
And, billion with a B. That we can reference when we're talking about cars.
Well, and the good thing about it is you are so respected in the field that you see all of these advertisements on television and social media are, we are Carfax, we'll give you the Carfax, your commercials, people understand those, but that shows the value in what Carfax provides the used car market.
If I'm in the market for a used car, how much does it cost me to go to Carfax and search VIN numbers? Let's say I'm looking at 6 vehicles now. I've picked them all out, and I want to put these VIN. Do you charge it by the VIN, or can I have like a package deal where I can get all 6 of them?
No, that's a great question. So whenever you're looking for a used car, we sell them in packs of 1, 3, and 6. So if you get just one, it's going to cost you $40. But if you're serious about looking for cars, you're probably going to, want to look under the hood of more than just one. So if you get 3, it's going to cost you $60, which is basically $20 a pop. Or if you get 6, it's $100, which is about 16 and change per report. So certainly the more you buy, the less expensive it gets.
And what would you recommend? I guess I could ask Conrad this. Okay, so I've drilled it down. I've looked at my 6. I've picked one, and it's a Carfax. It's got a clean Carfax. Everything looks good on it.
Good maintenance history.
Good maintenance history. It's got 100,000 miles on it. I want to make double sure. Would you recommend that I take it to somebody that's knowledgeable about the car and have them put it up on a lift?
Always. Carfax is one tool, and an important tool, but it's just one tool in buying a car. You definitely want to I have been burned when I have forgotten to do this. I bought a used car, and I did not take it to my mechanic, have it checked out. In hindsight, I really wish I had. In fact, it probably cost me a couple $1,000s for not doing that. But I would pay get a mechanic you trust, someone you know. They usually charge around $100 to do it. It is money well spent. I bought one Ford Escape back in the day. I took it to my mechanic. He said it needs to have A, B, and C done. I went back to the dealer and said, I like your price. If you do A, B, and C for me for free, I'll buy your car. He said, sure, I'll do that. And, there it went. But I would always have a trusted mechanic take a look at it before you buy it, because things can happen between the last report to Carfax and the time you're buying a car. So I would make sure that somebody, and plus mechanics can see where you can't. Your point about putting it up on the lift, I'm way too old to climb under a car. So, you definitely want someone who can lift it up for you and see the things you can't see.
Yeah, because Carfax provides the data. You still need eyes and hands on to give you the opinion of today, what's happened to the car. So,
Well, even though all of the service work has been done, you might have a leaking oil pan
that has never been addressed.
Correct. Yeah. And that could be major money, well, relatively speaking, to have a car pan, resealed. Yeah.
The other thing, too, is in this age of buying online, I'm a firm believer, you got to drive it, right? You got to see if those seats are comfortable for you. You've got to see if the way you can reach to the controls works for you. There are too many people who see the picture like, oh, I had a friend of mine who said, I really want to get a Ford Bronco. And I said, they're fun to drive, but they're like the Wrangler. They're rough on the road, and it's very boxy. So in the wind, it gets blown around. They're like, I had no idea. It just looked cool to me. And you got to get in the car and you got to test drive it. And you got to get it up to freeway speed.
Well, it's a big step up to get in, and maybe not everybody wants to make that big step up to get in.
Yeah, and that's why you date before you get married.
There is that. Yeah, and to that end, I really, it just drives me insane to see these big box used retail stores like a Carvana.
Oh yeah.
Where we'll order the car, we'll bring it to you, or if you want
pick
to
up your used car at the same time, and now they have your used car, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. You can't get it back.
Yeah. And now, do those retailers, do they use Carfax? Do these cars come with Carfax?
It depends on the retailer. Some of them do partner with us, some of them don't. The one thing I will say, for some of these guys, they have wisely built in a return policy where you have anywhere from a couple days to a week to return them. But that being said, I'm a believer in test driving before I buy, and particularly on used cars, of the actual model, right? Because you don't know if the person before you thought they would love, take their Nissan Versa off-roading, or if they, did something else that they shouldn't have been doing with their car. So
their Nissan, I can only imagine. Yeah, my teenage son that just got his driver's license wanted to see what it would do off-road.
It's got 33-inch mutters on it.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of auctions. There's the hot rod car auctions, the Barrett Jacksons, the Meekums that go on. Are you affiliated somehow with any of those? I mean, do they report as well? I mean, or can they?
I know that many auction houses use our Carfax reports in determining what they're going to pay for a car when they get it. I don't know that specifically on partnerships with any of them, but I know that we're used throughout the industry. That we are absolutely seen as a linchpin of the industry.
Do you have any competition?
Yes, Experian has a vehicle history report product as well, but there's not a ton of people in the space. It's tough to get into it, and it's tough to acquire the amount of data points that we've acquired, and so we definitely haven't seen a lot of other people get in. It's a pretty tough field to get into.
Well, I mean, and you guys have been doing it long enough and have refined it over the years to the point where there's more information in there that I even know how to discern. Yeah. And so it's Carfax.com.
It is Carfax.com. You can get, we have and the thing is, it's not just for when you buy it. So part of what I oversee is the research pages where we've got tons of good information on everything that's in a car, good photos. So we can help you make that list and help you figure out what you want to pare down on that list before you get to the VIN level in the used car listings. But we also have the used car listings. We also have right now the most valuable tool is probably our history-based value. Rather than, other competitors who tell you just at the year, make, model level, we tell you for your car with its mileage and its service history and its extra features and whatever else is on there, in the market where you live, we can tell you what that car is going for today. And I can tell you that used car prices are way up. And, now the problem is whatever you replace it with is probably also costs more than it used to. But for people who are looking to unload a car, now is a great time to do that. Make sure you get the right value for it though. And don't be stuck with something that isn't truly specific to your car.
So with what we opened up the conversation with, what cars are people searching for? And you talked about now they're all looking for more fuel economic cars. Do you see the market on the full-size trucks and SUVs at least settling down, maybe not retreat from its high levels it is,
or diminish
but as the market begins to fill with those vehicles, do you think that's going to soften up?
I think prices have hit a plateau and in fact started to decrease a little bit. I think it's really going to depend just on the, how the economy does. We definitely saw more interest in Carfax. Every time there was a stimulus that went out, we saw people jump to buy a car. It's been a while since we've had stimulus. It's been a while now. Most people have already gotten their tax refund. So it's going to be interesting to watch as it goes along. At some point, they'll solve the chip shortage and the new car shortage won't be as bad as it was. And that will ultimately also alleviate the used car supply issue as well. But I think prices are fairly stable now. I think consumers are taking a bit of a wait and see if they aren't going to come down. And if they don't have to buy it, there's not a trigger, right? The car broke down or they're having another kid or whatever. I think people are just playing it safe right now. But I think we are starting to see some prices come back to normal.
Patrick, we thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday morning to join us. Great information, Carfax.com. Hope to check in with you very soon again.
Thanks, guys. It was a blast.
Thank you. Patrick Olson with Carfax. Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email. The address here is info@inwheeltime.com. That was informative.
Yeah, very much so. And they are definitely the industry leader, not because they've been doing it the longest, but the amount of data they provide.
You said billions, in the billions. And the question I was going to ask is that, yes, if the prices are leveling off and in some cases coming down, you still got that caveat of the gas going up.
Oh, yeah.
So, that probably reflects big on what they report as well.
My suggestion would be don't do anything right now.
Yeah.
Just hang tight with what you got unless you absolutely have a complete bomb and you need a new engine in it or something, unless there's something catastrophic that's happened to the car. Hang tight. I think at the end of the year, we'll have a much better idea of where car,
Because right now, it's high.
It is high. It's too high.
It's higher than Snoop Dogg.
Oh, there you go.
Some tall
time now for some of the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Ford Motor Company said Thursday, recalling 39,000. Now, in the overall scheme of things, 39,000 vehicles isn't a big deal, but
except
after reports of 16 thermal events, fires, and has advised owners to park their vehicles outdoors and away from structures until a fix is completed.
Because they don't know what's causing the fires.
The recall, which covers some 21 model year Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator vehicles, was prompted as an engine compartment fire could occur while the vehicle is parked or being driven, even with the ignition off, the number 2 U.S. automaker said, saying. This year, Ford has issued 30 U.S. recalls covering 3.5 million vehicles, the most of any automaker.
It's like
16 events in 39,000 vehicles is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
It's the exhaust tips, I think.
It's the
Mars-
Terminator.
The Terminator. So what you do is you go to safercar.gov. It'll come up a little box that says VIN number. You type in your VIN number, which you can find on your insurance
All
card.
17 digits.
If you have insurance.
Yeah, well, there's that. We assume that the people that
Let's
watch
hope.
this show have
Let's hope,
insurance.
yeah.
And you type that in there, and it will tell you whether or not your car or truck or SUV is under recall.
And that's not a one and done. That's something you need to do 2 or 3 times a year as recalls get released. Check your car often.
The easiest way to remember that is when your car insurance is due every 6 months.
I'll tell you what they should do is they should put a notification on it. If your car becomes due, they'll send you a text and say, hey, they just issued a recall. Hey,
That would be a
there's
good thing.
my aha moment. Let me get on Shark Tank.
Well,
Do
do you know if Carfax reports any recalls?
Oh, they
would
do.
have to.
No, they do.
Yeah.
They actually, in their report, because I got all of the stuff for Austin's, in their report, it says, was it recalled? Was it done? When and where was it completed?
Okay, that's
I mean,
good.
It's pretty
Very good.
detailed
Yep.
information.
Some other recalls. Overheating may cause the center display to malfunction. Tesla Model 3, Model S, and Model X and Model Y. Isn't that pretty much your
It's
entire
everything
fleet?
they build.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
So that goes for the 2021
It's all electric and it's overheating.
to 2022 model years. Kia Forte and Kia Rio. Unsecured steering column.
Oops.
I want to
Look,
go
Martha,
left.
here,
I
you
wanna-
have the steering
I wanna
wheel.
go
left
left.
here.
I want to go right. Left, right.
Hyundai Accent is in that same recall. Low-pressure fuel hose may crack and leak on the Hyundai Sonata 2013 to 2014.
Sounds like a thermal event to me.
And pretty much every Mercedes-Benz known to man from the 2006 model year through 2012 is under recall because of brake booster corrosion. And it's major, and they're encouraging you to don't even drive it.
To park your car.
Park your car and have the wrecker come and take it to the Mercedes-Benz dealer.
Yep. I have a friend owns one in this range, and do not expect a rent car. Do not expect them to have the part in stock either.
Don't drive it.
Right.
Yeah.
You go. This is an instance where you're going to need to buy another vehicle because they don't want you driving your Mercedes because of the booster rust.
Well, and the corrosion inside the brake booster. And let me just say this, that in Houston, Texas, and the humidity that
corrode.
we've got
yeah.
here, we might not have rust in the fenders of the car, but in something like that, it could be major.
Yeah, you could hear stuff rust in Houston. It happens so fast.
You can hear it. What does that sound like exactly?
David, crinkle it.
Land Rover, new Range Rover for 2022. The front crash sensors may malfunction.
This is
Only
that's
in a
what
crash.
rust sounds like.
That's what rust sounds like. And you ate it earlier today. Thank you,
You're rusted
David.
from the inside, buddy.
Yep. This is great. Group of 17 Republican attorneys general is suing the EPA over its decision to reissue a waiver allowing California to set its own auto tailpipe rules and zero-emission vehicle mandates that are more stringent than federal standards. The attorneys general, led by Ohio's David Yost, there was a Dennis Yost in the Classics 4, never mind, alleged the Clean Air Act waiver violates the Constitution's equal sovereignty doctrine. Who would know that? In addition to Yost, officials from Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Carolina,
In
Texas, Utah, and West Virginia have joined the federal lawsuit, which was filed last week.
And they are fighting for us, Don, because we surely don't want to go under California Air Research Board rules.
No,
Oh, my God.
It's a
Can
Johnny
do
Cash
Do
thing.
you have it? People would go into bankruptcy
Oh, yeah.
trying to get their car to comply.
Yeah.
and then there would be a flood of these vehicles that don't comply with that. I mean, it's a whole different set of rules out on the West Coast.
And when you go in California, every corner is a smog check. They sell these smog checks that you have to do every year. And, you know, as often as you see a restaurant here in Houston, because every corner's got a restaurant on them, there's a smog check in California.
Yeah, and if you don't pass the smog check, it could cost you thousands of dollars.
Unless you qualify for some government program, which is typical of most programs.
Well,
there's a government program in Texas for their inspection. If you don't pass, there's a government program to earn a certain amount of money back.
You should have COVID testing and smog.
You don't want to press that.
No,
you just don't want to go there. Tesla stopped taking orders for its upcoming Cybertruck pickup truck outside North America. Automaker is only taking reservations for the Cybertruck in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Elon has said Tesla will start production of the Cybertruck next year at its plant in Austin. They unveiled the Cybertruck in 2019. It previously aimed to begin production late this year, but has pushed back the plan to the first quarter of 2023, and they will sell every single one that they make.
Before, there won't be any dealer inventory. They're going to sell out. They're going to sell everything out.
Well, there is no dealer here in Texas.
Do you think it's going to the final version is going to look like what he has shown?
My guess is no. My guess is no.
I don't think it'll be as sharp, but I think you could definitely tell.
Some similarities to it.
Yeah. And that's fine.
You know, because when you look at the Rivian, it's kind of an odd duck.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the front
it's a very odd duck.
Well, and Tesla will be the same, as they don't have to have the structure of an internal combustion engine. You don't have to have air going in, air going out.
Tailpipes, all that stuff.
And then where will the prototypes go? I mean, put them in a museum or run them through an auction? What?
No. Prototypes, pre-built stuff. GM's done pre-built stuff.
Yeah.
They go into crash testing. They go into all sorts of other engineering.
And they code the VIN so that they can't. Yeah.
Hey, a reminder that if you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com. Time now for a quick break. Back after these messages.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Kick off summer with Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition, Saturday, June 18th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate Father's Day, the start of summer, and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, June 18th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Want to take a minute to tell you about Gulf Coast Auto Shield, a Houston detail company like no other. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, you'll want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install Exo Shield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Conrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In Wheel Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In Wheel Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/In Wheel Time Car Talk.
Welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeartRadio. Coming up, Lisa Whalen on what it takes to move to EVs. Had a chance to drive the Ford Expedition. I'll give you my thoughts on it. We'll also have the cruise-in calendar, and later, Conrad has This Week in Auto History. Just ahead in this hour of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with David Ainsley, our chief engineer and head potentate of something. King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us this Saturday, and thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate that. Our next guest this morning is going to be a lady by the name of Lisa Whalen. Lisa, good morning to you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. My pleasure.
So Lisa is the managing director of a company called Morning Consult. I guess that's the way you pronounce it. That's the way I pronounce it anyway. It's a company that does automotive and mobility analysis. Oh, my God. You know, it was one of those classes in school. They're going, I don't want to be here. I don't know anything about this. You are in a certain area that it's like, oh, how does she do what she does? How do you do research and insight into the automotive mobility and transportation business? How does that work? Who came up with this?
Great question. Well, I'm lucky enough to live in quite a sandbox of great, rich consumer data. We pulse consumers every single day on their attitudes and behaviors around a number of different industries, and I'm lucky enough to be able to focus on automotive and mobility.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm glad that you haven't pulsed me, because I'd be nervous about what I would say to you. What kind of questions do you ask people?
Well, first of all, let me assure you there are no wrong answers in our pulse.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, of course. And we ask consumers everything from, what's going on with the vehicle they own currently, where do they park it? Did they finance it, lease it, or pay cash for it? We also look at what they're intending to purchase, when, what factors are really important in that purchase decision. And we love to pulse consumers on their attitudes and feelings about future technologies such as electric vehicles and autonomous driving.
Well, right now, with the automotive market the way that it is, and consumers going crazy with gasoline prices and what kind of car to buy. Do I buy new? Do I buy used? Do I have to buy right now? All of these things. I mean, it's almost like kind of like going to your psychoanalyst.
That's absolutely right. Especially coming off the last couple of years of the pandemic, it has been so volatile for the automotive industry with the supply chain crisis, restrained chips into vehicles. So there just hasn't been a lot of availability. Pricing has been really high. Consumers have been forced to hang on to their wheels and trying to wring out extra miles and really delay that purchase decision. So a lot of folks were hoping coming into 2022 that things were going to start to abate in the automotive industry. Prices might come down, selection would come up. There would be a lot of choice and just a big revenge purchase cycle for consumers. Unfortunately, with the geopolitical crisis happening in Russia and Ukraine, we have yet another strain on the global supply chain and as well the automotive industry for consumers.
What's the number one thing that you're finding right now among consumers?
The number one thing is the concern about gas prices. It's affecting so many different aspects of their lives. It's really fascinating to ask customers whether or not they've reduced their driving in the past month due to high gas prices. We've seen a lot of that happening, particularly with younger consumers, and that's a concern. They've also looked to alternate ways to move around, such as walking, biking, taking the subway versus personal transportation. So there's been a lot of activity under the surface in response to high gas prices. And of course, there's been so much more interest in electric vehicles as a result.
Well, and that's going to be my next question. Everybody thinks, okay, well, I'm just going to go to an electric vehicle. I'll bite the bullet and I'll spend the money to do an electric vehicle. But I guess the one factor that I don't think a lot of people think of is the fact that you're going to have to pay for the electricity that goes into that vehicle. I know that most people here in the Houston, Texas, because of our air conditioning in particular, you'll sign a contract with a power provider and be locked in for a year.
Depending on how much power you buy. So if you buy an electric car and now all of a sudden you're buying more power, you go into a different pay plan and all of a sudden your electric bill goes from $300 a month to $900 a month.
Yeah. And so from analysis that we have actually discovered on this show from various people, that when you compare a gasoline-powered vehicle compared to an electric vehicle, for the most part, an electric vehicle comes out being more expensive to operate than a gasoline vehicle. But now, we're talking about some information that we received over a month ago. And a month ago, gasoline prices were much cheaper. So I'm not exactly sure how that's balancing out now. Do you know?
Well, absolutely. It just goes to the point that nothing in life is free. Unfortunately, EVs aren't necessarily the best trade-off in terms of cost of ownership for a vehicle. And no, gas prices have not gone down in any significant amount in order to make that cost equation, look better for gas-powered vehicles. But at the same time, they're not moving down enough to make EVs like a very obvious choice when you look at the total cost of ownership, let alone the ability to find charging access, range anxiety, and all of the other issues that consumers report around their reticence to buy an electric vehicle.
And range anxiety tends to be a little more regional. A person of range anxiety in Houston, it's 100 miles across the city, may be different than the range anxiety of somebody that lives in San Francisco, which, they're maybe only doing 10 miles a day, maybe 18 hours to go 10 miles, but they're not doing the mileage.
Or other factions to get around.
Right.
They got, the trolleys and the subs and all that, yeah.
Yes. Or their commutes or their routes are very predictable. So they know where to get charging. It's not a big question mark for them. And you're absolutely right. We look at consumers in rural areas versus suburban and urban, and absolutely more range anxiety comes out amongst rural consumers and even suburban consumers, because again, looking at predictability versus the chaotic nature of your normal routine when you're moving around. It's hard to predict always where you're going to find a charging station and whether or not you're going to be close to out of charge. So there's a lot of anxiety across most of the country from a range perspective.
And what do you do? I'm going to ask this. How do you guys monetize the data you collect? Do you sell it to auto manufacturers, dealerships, media? Somehow in what you do, there's a monetization feature to it.
Yeah, fair enough. The devil's in the details, I would say. We have so much data, but it's really about what do you do with the data? What types of insights can you draw across such high frequency data? And we have just massive amounts of information. But the value really is in the insights. And so our customers, our clients from across industries really not only value us for the data that we produce, but it's really drawing those insights and having those consistent interactive dialogues with our clients on what does that all mean.
So it's more business to business, not business to consumer data that you're providing.
Well, we do provide the end consumer data to the businesses, so it does help them in terms of their marketing strategies, messaging as they're building their products, how to best target consumers. Their needs and wants and desires and things like that. So at the end of the day, it's all about the end consumer. what our clients are trying to improve when they work with us.
So the clients can isolate the information they want to gather for their need.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can be as surgical as we want to.
What is the most often asked question of you? What category? What is it that your consumers, if you will, of your data, what are they wanting to know most of?
In the automotive and mobility industry, it's definitely about when are electric vehicles going to be really desirable to a broad number of consumers? When is that inflection point that the mass market is really going to adopt and want to purchase electric vehicles?
And at $5 a gallon, are you starting to see that, or has it really not turned a corner yet where you can see a trend line developing?
Well, interest amongst consumers has really skyrocketed this year in terms of electric vehicles. We saw record splintering levels of Google searches in March for electric vehicles, but that doesn't necessarily translate into sales. First of all, there's not a lot of supply out there for electric vehicles as the supply chain continues to be really restricted. And second of all, we had alluded to prices or cost of ownership, but just the very entry price of getting an electric vehicle is prohibitive to most American pocketbooks, especially when they're feeling the strain of overall inflation, making them make spending trade-offs at this point. So it's really not translating to anything very tangible at the bottom line.
But you're kind of seeing the interest is increasing, and tends to the purchasing decisions will follow at some point in the future.
Well, definitely the interest is increasing, but then it's interesting because we compare back to the 2008, 2009 crisis when gas prices were quite high as well. What we saw back then was some substitution from consumers to trucks, with less mileage per vehicle into cars. So we saw some of that movement. But it's interesting how easily we forget. Like when gas prices drift back down, as we hope they will, because the nature of most of these indicators is cyclical, consumers easily forget. And we know the American consumer is about convenience, first of all. So if gas prices don't stay high for that protracted period of time, we don't necessarily see this lasting interest in EVs.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Americans have a very short attention span.
They do.
Shiny thing.
Squirrel.
So, the Eevee Market now, do you think your increase in it that you saw back in March was a little bit driven by the Ford announcements and the GM announcements and the Hummer announcements, and that's being driven as much by all of the new vehicles, the EVs that are about to hit the market, or do you think it was really driven by cost of fuel?
I would say at the top line, a lot of the interest was driven by manufacturer announcements, and the New York Auto Show sure did a nice job in terms of providing an interactive EV experience. So consumers love to listen to the buzz, and there have been a lot of very exciting announcements coming out from a product perspective. So that does pique interest. But again, how does that translate into sales at the bottom line? Because the pricing is so prohibitive at this point for EVs, especially with the GM and Ford products. The GM Silverado is over $100,000. Who can afford that at this point? So yeah, we do see a lot of interest sort of on the top line because of that. But the real threshold of interest in EVs right now is because of gas prices. We've definitely seen that consumers say because of gas prices, they have been more open to EVs, interested, learning more.
When you find somebody that is interested in the EV, do you ask them, are they interested in buying or just interested in learning more about it? And is there a cost factor involved when it comes to their interest in it? In other words,
is there a ceiling to their?
Yeah. In other words, I mean, today's regular gasoline engine driven car or truck or SUV is about $40,000 on average. So is anything over that? I mean, most EVs, if you want them decently loaded, is going to cost more than $40,000, and certainly Tesla.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, we do ask consumers about time horizons, first of all. whether that or not they're interested in purchasing an EV within the next 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years. And you do see some inflection points. About 10% of consumers say, hey, yeah, I'm interested in within a year. More like 40% are interested in about 5 years. But it's also important to note that at this point, almost 20% of consumers say, I'm never going to be interested in an electric vehicle. And then from a pricing perspective, and that part of that feeds into part of that purchase decision, pricing does, we look at a lot of the factors, the reasons why consumers are reticent to actually purchase electric vehicles. And pricing definitely comes to the top pack in terms of those reasons, behind range anxiety and charging infrastructure concerns.
Do you find the interest in the vehicle, the 1 year, versus the 5 year versus the 10 year versus the never? Do you find that there's an age overlay to that, where the younger ones are more apt to be in the 1 year range, where us gray-headed guys sitting here, David maybe excluded, are more of the no, I'll never? For sure. It's the younger consumers that are leading the charge to electric vehicles. They are early adopters of technology in general, and it definitely follows with the electric vehicle market. The interesting thing, though, is we also ask consumers whether or not they would prefer to purchase an electric vehicle from a traditional manufacturer like a GM or a Ford, or a purely electric manufacturer like a Tesla or a Rivian. And while younger buyers say they would prefer to purchase from a purely electric manufacturer, baby boomers actually want to purchase from an electric vehicle from a traditional manufacturer. So that's a great opportunity for the GMs and the Fords of the world.
Truly amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk to you all morning long. Would you like that? You had nothing.
Sure.
You had nothing else to do on a Saturday morning, did you?
Absolutely not.
Where are you located?
Right now, I'm in northern Michigan. I'm a remote worker, which is a fabulous way to be. So I'm looking out on the bay of northern Michigan.
Oh, how beautiful!
Well, David Ainsley's headed your way. Our chief engineer over here, manning the computer this morning. He's up there in the UP. So he'll be heading your way in June, I think.
You got a unicorn farm up there or something.
Absolutely.
A unicorn farm. That's it. Lisa,
perfect time of year.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Great information. Can we knock on your door again soon?
Anytime, please. Would love to chat with you folks.
Well, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Lisa Whalen with Morning Consult. It's been a pleasure.
Great info.
Yes, it truly is. Automotive and mobility analysis. Who would have thunk? But, I mean, car manufacturers, that's where they get their information.
Not only them, but the media. That's where all of this, here's what's going on, here's what to expect. They provide the data to all of those different people. Think about a car manufacturer, Ford and Chevy. Did they know that electrics were going to happen on their own? Or were they looking at this kind of data that says, hey,
And who is interested in who's buying?
Right.
Well, it's kind of like the paint colors on cars today. That was pretty much thought about 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
And I think that the whole electric thing is kind of going in that same direction.
We need to ask her next time if paint colors is one of the things that
we should have.
Probably they question customers on.
Yeah. But as far as EVs are concerned, I mean, more stories today about major manufacturer opening battery manufacturers, plural, or opening battery factories around the United States, which I thought was interesting, instead of importing stuff. And I think there's going to be a lot more stuff that's coming back to the United States that in the past we've depended on foreign countries to supply.
And the manufacturer partnering that's going on, because Honda is going to be using the GM skateboard, what I call the skateboard, the Ultium battery pack, and putting their own vehicle on top of it.
Right.
So,
but not only colors, but what are the younger crowds looking for options? What do they want to see on the interior?
Oh.
That would be also.
Well, that's a good lead into my final today.
There you go.
Options and features.
I'm trying.
Mars did things that people don't want or don't need. I'll do things the manufacturers have stopped doing.
Yeah.
Great.
I think their tenants exhaust
everything Mars showed before.
the twirly bird or whatever.
Well, the headers.
Yeah. On a Prius.
I don't do. I mean, on a race car. Okay, I get headers. But on today's street car,
Headers that wake up your vet, Don.
I had headers on my 72 Nova. I put them on myself.
Headers that wake up the vet.
Yeah.
what about 10 horsepower?
Probably more than that if you do a tune along
Nowadays,
with it.
yeah.
Because you got to remember, air in, air out.
I know,
when you change one of those flow ratios of air in and air out, then you get to add more fuel.
I wonder. Yeah, well, I don't need to add more
and that
fuel.
creates more power.
I understand. But I think that on, for instance, my 21-year-old car, I think that the manufacturers finally realized, hey, we're going to get some performance out of this and make it all flow a lot better. And by going through all of the, can you imagine? I cannot even imagine trying to put headers on a 21-year-old Corvette today.
Oh, you'd have to.
My 1977 Corvette, I got under there. I did the whole thing all by myself, took the entire undercarriage out. No big deal. But on today's car, no.
We did your shifter. We could do your headers in my
No,
shop.
we're not. We are not going to do that.
Or you could do shorties that are, it's a header and it bolts right to the cats.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of room under the hood of that.
There's no room. There's not even under the hood, but even underneath it.
Well, from underneath is almost impossible.
Oh, it's just too much. All right. Moving on. Time now for this hour's car review. Had a chance to drive the somewhat recalled 2021 Ford Expedition recently. And the recall is because of some sort of a thermal event that on some 32,000.
Did they come pick it up?
Pardon me?
Did they pick it up because of that?
No. It was just the usual routine. Then this is a 2021 model because the Ford press fleet is
still old.
Is still old, yeah. But at any rate, very viable still. The Expedition comes in many trim levels. Starts off the XL, goes to XLT, the Limited, the King Ranch, and the Platinum. I had the Limited 4x4, which is kind of mid-pack as far as trim levels are concerned. It is a standard SUV, according to the government. To me, it's a full-size, body-on-frame big boy.
Mm-hmm.
Seats up to 8 passengers.
Wow.
Let me put it this way. It was all new in 2018. Now, from what I understand, that the 2022 model has the new Ford F-150 dash in it with the big screen.
Oh, okay.
This one did not have that, okay? It's Ford's biggest body-on-frame SUV, straight lines, attractive grille and lower valance as well. Automatic folding running boards.
Love that.
Me too. Attractive wheels, rear hatch and lighting, awesome. Folding running boards, as I mentioned, what is one of my favorites, because instead of doing all of these crazy things, unfolding and coming out and up and all that, it just goes and it's there. Yeah. What could use improvement? Offer an off-road appearance package and maybe a hypo model. I think that there is a market for those.
Wow.
And it doesn't have to be something crazy. Just, goose it up a little bit.
A Raptor Expedition.
Well, it could be. Sure, why not?
Big wheels and tires, nice four-wheel drive.
Look what Chrysler has done with all of that.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Interior highlights. Straightforward dash on this particular one. Rotary gear shift on the center console. I absolutely love it. I don't know why it's on the console. I'd rather have it on the dash because I don't want my center console cluttered. Except I would like to have a charge pad for my cell phone and lay the pad right down next to me so I can look down there. I can integrate it with the car, do all of that, but not on this one. Rotary gear shift on the center console. I know it sounds silly, but why have the great big stalk up here? I don't get that. It's not connected anymore. And it's electric.
Most vehicles have done away with that. Not all, but a lot of vehicles have done away with that stalk shifter.
Yeah, well, controls are well placed in this. Very easy to use. The Sync 45 version works well. I don't know what number it is. Sync 92, whatever.
Probably 6.
Probably. Cargo trunk room with the third row up. Not much room except for groceries back there.
Yeah.
But that's the way that it is.
But this is the short wheelbase, not the long.
Right. Conservative styling. What I liked about it. We could use improvement. I understand that the new 150 dash is in the current iteration of the Expedition. Now, engine, 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6. Now, this isn't the high horsepower. This is only 375.
Yeah, only.
Not, yeah, exactly. Torque, 470.
Which is more than sufficient.
Yeah. 10-speed automatic transmission, tow rating 9,300 pounds. It's smooth, man. I mean, that drivetrain is smooth. 17 miles per gallon city, 23 highway for a combined of 20. I got 17.3, and I'm not exactly sure why. I really didn't floor it.
I thought you'd have got a little bit better because I
did too.
You're a little softer shoe.
Yep. 419 miles is what I drove it. Plenty of power. What could use improvement? I don't know. It's
the dash. But they did that for 2022.
Ride and handling smooth, limo-like ride.
Oh, yeah.
What could use improvement? I'd like to see a ride mode selection. They may have that. I didn't drill down into it. Base trim price, $64,625. Prices tested $71,515. Base model price $49,625. Now remember that. Base model price $49,625. The Chevy Suburban starts at $50,700. The Nissan Armada $48,900. And the Toyota Sequoia for $50,400. They're all within a couple $1,000 of each other.
But go to the dealership and try and find one of those Strippo models that probably don't exist. Everybody's playing in that mid-60s to 70 range.
Tell you what, if you got a couple of kids, you drive on your vacations maybe to go see Aunt Mary or Cousin Vicky or whoever it is that you go see in the summertime, and maybe take a little trip at Christmas time with the kids. This is the ideal vehicle for that. Yeah.
Load them up and haul them away.
Yeah. When my two girls were younger and we went on vacation, all of us together, I had a Suburban, had two of them, actually. What a handy thing to have.
Yeah, they're huge, because we rented one a few years ago up in the Detroit area, and it was huge for the kids. It was a great vehicle. Yeah.
Angela had a couple of Suburbans and then the Tahoe, but the Tahoe always had third-row seats because we were hauling the team. Whether it was soccer, baseball, water polo, volleyball, basketball, water polo.
Yeah. They're so handy.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the popularity and how it all progressed from the Suburban era. And have you ever seen one of the original Suburbans?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Three doors. They never had a rear door on the driver's side. You know why?
For emptying out in traffic, getting empty out on the curb
for
side.
Safety.
Yeah.
Now they don't care.
Yeah. Well, when you had the kids going for the polo, did you have the horses in the trailer back there too?
Yes. But if you think about it, they do care, because now you start seeing them talking about your door won't work if the radar sees somebody coming from the back, which I think is smart idea.
Yeah. All it is a computer, a program in the computer that's in there.
You need a chip for that.
The In-Wheel Time Car Show streams on the iHeart Radio app, Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts available from your favorite podcast provider. In-Wheel Time Car Show continues right after these brief messages.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, you'll want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install ExoShield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In-Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Conrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In-Wheel Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In-Wheel Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/In-Wheel Time Car Talk.
It is the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Gary Henry with the Lone Star Street Rod Association. He's going to join us, talk about an upcoming event that
everybody needs to go to.
Yeah, we're going to be there. Conrad will have This Week in Auto History and the Cruise In, and we'll get you updated on the stories making car news this week. All that just ahead in this segment of the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with our chief engineer and chief bottle washer, potentate, David Ainsley. We have King Conrad along. We need more Jeff Zekin, always. Yeah. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us today. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Matter of fact, let's just go to North Texas right now. Well, what we call North Texas, and go up to the Lone Star Street Rod Association chief potentate, Gary Henry. Gary, good morning.
He's muted.
Oh,
you're muted, Gary.
No, he's
on his end.
Jerry, you're muted on your side.
Yeah.
Bottom left corner. Unmute.
Is he there?
Yep.
He's there.
There we go.
There we go.
Hello.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm glad that we're not the only ones to screw it all up, because, it's nice to have compatriots in this effort to be online.
Thanks for playing.
My pleasure.
So, Gary, let's start off with what is the Lone Star Street Rod Association? What is that?
Well, Lone Star Street Rod Association, LSSRA, was formed in 1974. And it was started by 16 guys that had this great idea. And today we're up over around 800 members.
Oh, wow.
Statewide.
Just that, wait a minute, that's just in the state of Texas?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, it is.
But we also have members as far away as Minnesota, California, Arizona, New Mexico, and other folks around here.
So do you guys have city chapters that gather and organize, let's say in Houston and Austin and San Antonio, Dallas, El Paso?
No, it's just one major organization. But you've got to remember that it was originally formed to have a venue of communication between members and car clubs around the state. And I publish a monthly publication, the Street Light, and this comes out once a month and gives a venue for people around the state to figure out or see what's going on and what other people are doing around the state
in their area. So kind of a funnel collection of data, of information about what kind of events are in or around different cities around the state. You guys would be a great source for.
Absolutely. I publish a schedule of events that has close to 500 events around the state, and a few of the majors, the good guys in the NSRA events around the country.
So very much focused on the street rodding scene, or do you take events that are like cruise-ins or gatherings that have no fees involved with them?
Well, you've got to figure that cruise-ins, there are so many that I couldn't get all of them in the newsletter. But what we do is get most of the swap meets, the rod runs, that type of thing.
Well, and that's a great focal for resource that's available. But you guys also have an event coming up, don't you?
Oh, yes, we do.
Tell us about it.
This is we call it the state run. And this has been going on since the organization was formed. It's June 10, 11, and 12 in Granbury. You guys are going to be there. We're looking forward to that. We've the event is confined to pre-1972 vehicles, but it's we're looking forward to a real big turnout this year. Hopefully, it'll be the largest one that we've had so far.
And the facility is
it is at Hewitt Park in Granbury, and if you go to our website, our information page, LSSRA.com, it has all the information right there.
So
I'll post it.
Those dates, that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, it is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, and we, of course, you guys will be there on the 11th, and we're really looking forward to it. This is the first time that we've had a live podcast from the event.
Well, we're glad to be the first.
Absolutely.
And as you called it a street run, or a state run, excuse me. Now, is this organized groups driving into this, open to anybody? I know you said anything pre-1972, but do you have to be a member to come to this, or what are the guidelines
requirements
for joining in?
Actually, the run, this particular run has been confined to members only. Now that means that just because you're not a member, that you can join up right there at the registration.
Okay.
The registration for the event is $25, but the membership for the LSSRA is $35 a year. And once again, you get this wonderful monthly publication, and then you also have contact and information from around the state with other people that have your same interest.
Crazy habit of spending more money on your car than you should. Yeah. Because it's gorgeous and you have an emotional connection to it.
Exactly. Well, I also do want ads in the newsletter. So if you're trying to sell something, you're trying to find something, we've got a venue right there. People that have a like interest.
Is the newsletter available online as well?
No, it isn't. It's a hard copy, and we've thought about doing that online. We've thought about using a digital format, but we find that the demographics is really like to have that hard copy in your hand.
What are the demographics?
Beg your pardon?
What are the demographics? Besides old, what are the demographics?
Because we're all there.
Because we're right there with you.
Yeah.
Well, it's white hair has a lot to do with it.
Okay. So in other words, 40 and above is pretty much where you're centered.
Well, for a multitude of reasons. One is you understand that car. But the other is you have money. Like I just said, you have money to spend on that car. Yeah. Some 18-year-old just out of whatever.
Let me just tell you, I have a paid-for 2021 Corvette. Listen, and it runs just fine. Do I have extra money to spend on it? No, but I spend it anyway.
I was going to say, you've done tires, you've done shifter, you've done a number of other things.
Yeah. Do you have to have hair?
You don't have to have hair, do you?
No, that's not a prerequisite.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad. What car do you have, or cars?
I've got a I've got a 29 Ford two-door sedan.
Nice.
It's been on the road now for about 15 years. Got close to about 100,000 miles on it.
Holy
it's
cow.
been from coast to coast, not on a trailer.
Yeah, I think you sent Mike your newsletter last time we had you on. I believe so. You sent Mike the newsletter, I believe, through the mail.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I've sent a couple, two or three, something like that.
So the 29 Ford, I bet it doesn't have a 29 Ford motor in it.
I've got a 347 stroker motor,
Oh.
AOD transmission, independent rear suspension, and of course the air conditioning.
So you live a little bit outside the box because you're running a Ford powertrain where everybody thinks initially it's going to have a small block Chevy in it. You're still running a Ford powertrain in yours.
Well, I figured that anybody can put a Chevy in it.
That's right. That's right.
And I'll ask the question because we had them on earlier on the show. Whose air conditioning system is in your 29?
Vintage Air, of course.
Yeah, there you go.
Out of San Antonio, Texas.
And by the way, this last issue of the Streetlight, we did a really awesome coverage of Vintage Air, and I spent most of the day with Rick, and we did a complete tour of the operation.
How cool was that?
Real good overview.
And I would imagine your club of the 800 people, if 700, because probably not all of them have air conditioning, but if 700 of them have air conditioning, 699 of them have a Vintage Air, unless the car came with factory air.
Yeah,
I would expect so. Everybody except the T Roadsters.
the bucket T Roadsters, yes.
Well, who needs air
That's
conditioning?
just by nature.
When you're sitting up in the wind, anyhow.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Interesting. So, how many cars, vehicles are you going to have? Because I assume that is registration still ongoing, or is it pretty?
Absolutely. In fact, you can register the day of the event.
Oh, okay.
And right now we're looking at about 100 or so pre-entries. And this year we're expecting something between 300 and 400 cars.
Wow, very good.
Very nice. And so I would imagine that knowing our groups the way that we know, there'll be a lot of them. They'll go, okay, yeah, I think we're going to go next weekend. Let's just go ahead and pull the trigger. Yeah, I'm sure that you will agree with me that there's that segment that
shows up at the last minute.
Yeah.
So
we'll find that a lot of these things like this are pretty at the moment.
Yeah.
Somebody gives you a call and say, "Hey, do you want to go?" Of course, why not? Let's do it.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is your parking kind of genre specific? Let's say you park all of the muscle car 60s, 70s era cars in this area. You park all of the street rodders of the Fords of the 50s and 40 Fords in this area, the 32 buckets over here, or is it just park where you can?
Well, if you've ever been to a rod run like this, it's whoever gets there for the best place. But you got to figure too that you have parked there in Granbury is beautiful. There's a lot of parking on the grass. There's a lot of shade trees. It's just an excellent venue, and it's we don't try to segregate the like the muscle cars from the roadsters or whatever. It's whoever gets there first and finds their best place.
That's a place with shade in June in North Texas.
Yeah, exactly. I went on the Lone Star Street Rod. I'm sorry, on the Hot Rod Tour of Texas not too long ago, and had a great time, and ran with a group from Carthage, Texas, called Black Smoke Garage. And these are a bunch of diesel guys that, matter of fact, one of them was, I guess, a 40s truck of some sort that had a huge turbocharger sticking out of the hood. And it was kind of a rat rod looking thing. And I will tell you that those guys were just an absolute ton of fun. What a great bunch of guys. And everybody was into, just everybody else's car. I mean, it was just a lot of fun, you know. There was no bragging or anything like that.
That's the fun of going to an event like this is, you know, I have my 70s muscle car. We'll talk about that later. But, you know, I love going to see those cars of the 30s and 40s and what people have done to them to street rod them.
But, Gary, it's not only just that. I think that probably even a more important aspect of owning cars like this is it brings everybody together. You got something in common, and generally speaking, guys that are in a club or organization or go to a meet like yours, it's really the camaraderie, and you got something in common. And yes, the conversation sometimes goes around your car, but it's really about life in general and just hanging out with the guys, if you will.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that everyone comes together. They've all got the same interest, and it's like a
therapy session,
a convention, yeah. But it's more almost like family. I mean, I can say that I have been to events from coast to coast. I've made some wonderful friends, and that we have stayed in contact with over the years.
Sure.
May not see them, but maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years. But it's one of those things that bond has been made, and it's a wonderful thing.
Are there members of your organization that are also members of, say, the Good Guys?
Oh yeah, oh yes. That's not unusual. And you go to an event like this, and you see the stickers on the car. There'll be Good Guys, NSRA, Lone Star, and possibly one of their own individual local clubs.
Yeah.
So
it's
you had talked about $25 to register your car to bring it, but not everybody is going to have a car to bring. Is there a spectator fee?
Oh, of course, and it doesn't cost anything. There's one thing though, that spectators can't bring their car into the venue.
Yeah, they've got to park off off property
Yes.
or in a different location.
That makes sense.
And the host hotel, which is just across the street from the park, has ample parking there that you can park over there and just walk across the street with a traffic controlled light there.
Very nice.
Come and enjoy everybody's cars. You don't have to be a street rodder to come out and see what everybody else is doing.
LSSRA.com. Gary, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Well, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Then I hope we have a great event.
Well, I know that you will, and we look forward to it as well. Talk to you soon. Gary Henry with Lone Star Street Rod Association. Okay, couple of things to do this week, and you've got that.
Yeah,
Did I catch you off guard?
I think I've already done this week.
No.
You need
Yeah. So the next following weeks is the Houston Cars and Cocktails at Little Woodrow's in Tomball. That's May 29th. That's 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. June 11th, here in Houston, the Northside Mustang Open Car Show at Gillow Ford. We'll be at the Lone Star Street Rod Association's meet up in Granbury, and that is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. Going to be well worth coming to. There's going to be some gorgeous cars there, I can just imagine.
Yeah, and if you're up in the North Texas area, most definitely stop by.
And then
George,
right from Temple. That's not a far drive to Granbury. June 24th is a Street Outlaw No Prep out at Baytown. I think that's going to be a huge event. I think they're going to have a ton of people there for that. And then July 15th, the 2022 Corvette Invasion in Bastrop, Texas. Have you looked any further into that?
When is that again?
July 15th, in the absolute heat of the summer in Bastrop. It's going to be at the Bastrop Convention Center, the 15th through the 17th, and starts at 1 p.m. on the 15th and closes at 11 a.m. on the 17th.
Beautiful.
You want me to look that up right now?
Yeah, you can. I can add a couple of more. August 6th is race day at Houston Raceway Park. And remember, this is kind of the end of everything at Houston Raceway Park.
Swan song.
the swan song of all the events, and the NHRA event was awesome. So
The
as some of these
sunset of the
others come
track.
through.
Well,
Yeah.
the 15th is a Friday.
Yep.
16th is a Saturday. And the 17th
It's a Sunday.
is a Sunday. So when is this Corvette thing?
All 3 days.
All 3 days. So I might be able to go up there on Saturday after the show.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Beltway's open. The 99's open. You can get there quicker.
I think that's the wrong side of the Beltway that opened. That would be
Oh.
on the east side.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Boy, and were the Popo busy yesterday on it. I drove the section from I-10 north to 90, saw 4 highway patrol with people pulled over. DPS?
State troopers.
State troopers.
Nice.
So I'm wondering, Officer Woodard, were you out there picking on everybody that was probably flying down the
Why would you do that?
Because you can.
Okay.
Knuckleheads.
This week in auto history, you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. We always like that. We missed that last week.
And I generally will find that story of 1899. Olds Motor Works was incorporated and created with the merger of Olds Motor Vehicles and Olds Gasoline Engine Works, and they came together to become Oldsmobile in 1899. Been around a while.
Yeah.
They're not around anymore.
I know. Don't get me going. I'll start crying. In 1933, the very first police radio system was installed in Eastchester Township in New York by Radio Engineering Laboratories of Long Island.
Car 54,
Where are you? In 1947,
Oh, boy.
Ferrari.
David looks up and goes, what in the hell are they talking about?
They're singing. Singing in.
Well, he can sing 10 or 12 miles from here. Oh.
Ferrari made its independent racing debut in 1947. Enzo had been designing cars for Alfa Romeo since the 20s and debuted the Tipo 125.
Tipo.
That was the
Tipo Jojo.
Tipo. I always said it Tipo. The 125 with a V12 engine. In its first race, it failed to finish because the engine broke. The fuel pump failed on it. But that was Ferrari's first car with his name on it. And, look at where they are now. In 1980, the Skyway Bridge disaster, if you remember, that was the that was the bridge in Tampa that the barge hit and knocked over. It took them almost a year to rebuild that bridge. What a drive around that was.
Yeah.
In 1994, the French President Mitterrand and Queen Elizabeth jointly opened the channel linking Britain to France with an underground. Oh, there's the.
Yeah, you get them out of sequence.
That's not the channel. So as they had this huge boring train, for lack of a better phrase.
Wait a minute, isn't that what Mars was trying to put in some air intake?
That's it. It's the tornado.
Yes, that is a big air intake because a train will fly down that one. But this thing was like a big train that bored its way from England to France under the English Channel. And now that is probably the most popular mode of transportation because they'll actually take what they call lorries, what we would call tractor trailers.
Now,
over here.
they couldn't get it out of the tunnel, so they bored it off lane
Right.
and left it underground.
Correct.
It's still under there?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Oh, they probably do have a way you can go see it, but they built another step-off exit for it.
That's what I'd want
off
to
of the
see.
natural channel. In 1988, German automobile company Daimler-Benz, maker of the world's most famous Mercedes, they announced a $36 billion merger with United States-based Chrysler Corporation.
What a disaster that was.
I think they sold it some years later for half price.
Looks nothing like the Hyundai.
Yeah, and they
logo.
ruined Chrysler for those years that they had it.
And they still, they might not sell the Crossfire anymore, but the
They
Crossfire.
do not sell that piece of crap.
The Charger was actually based on a Mercedes C-Class vehicle. The chassis was. So, in 1912, the automotive world got lost a giant on that day when Carroll Shelby passed away in 2012, and his history still writes itself today with the Shelby brand. That is this week in automotive history.
Thank you, sir. National Automobile Dealer Association and 12 other trade groups are urging Congress to advance a bipartisan bill that will combat an alarming rise in catalytic converter thefts. And we are going to have an interview with Consumer Reports on that. In the letter sent Monday, the groups asked the committee to hold a hearing on legislation known as the Preventing Auto Recycling Theft, or PART Act, to support the measure. Stolen at a higher rates now because they contain costly precious metals such as platinum, palladium, and rhodium, and are not easily traceable.
Wow.
We're going to go over that. But I did not realize that they're only getting somewhere between $20 and $350 each converter on the black market. I thought it'd been more than that.
Well, it depends on which one it is as to the content of the precious metals that are in it. But I don't know that they're being disassembled for the precious metals as much as they are being resold to fix all the catalytic converters that are stolen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
My opinion. Maybe we'll learn some extra information.
So you mean to tell me that the police can't go and say, "Hey, you selling catalytic converters?"
The police in Houston have gone into shops and seen stacks of sawed-off catalytic converters and can do nothing about it because those aren't the people who stole it, and the cops cannot prove where they came from, which is why you see places offering to
put the VINs on,
etch your VIN in, or paint it, or cage it up. Yeah, it's a weird way they're protected within the law of, just because I have what are clearly 65 stolen catalytic converters sitting on the floor of my shop,
can't press charges against you for
cops
that.
Can't bring charges against me for it.
But if they know who did it,
that may be some of what this bill is going to address.
So in other words, you can't put a spy sitting out front of it and somebody pulls in with a trunkload of catalytic converters.
Yeah,
and
like doing a drug deal. Bring them in, sell them catalytic converters, tell them they were stolen. If the guys are smart, they'll, oh no, I don't want them if you stole them. But it's clear that they've been stolen because they've all been sawed off with a hacksaw or sawzall in 30 seconds while they climb under your car.
Well, then there's some recycling places that won't take them.
So what about actual junkyards? I mean, I would imagine that every car that goes into a junkyard that's been crashed, burned, or whatever, they've all got catalytic converters in there.
And that could be what the reseller is saying that's where his came from.
Yep.
I don't know, but hopefully, the interview we have next, we give us some light on that.
Well, the TV show we saw not long ago, I think we all kind of watched a little bit of it, where they had a special tool. They, instead of doing the saw, they used the crimper.
They used a cutter, Jaws of Life
that
cutter.
Was their car, their product, and they were stripping it for that reason because it's a salvage yard.
But again, catalytic converters theft has become extremely dangerous here in Houston because you're always hearing about gunfire.
The Sugar Land police officer that caught him, guy pulled a gun and the gun jammed and the officer shot the guy right out here in the field, not too far from here.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? I didn't realize it was that close. I knew it was Sugar Land.
Well, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning or something
like that. Yeah. But then there was a rash of those.
Well, 2 center mass and 1 to the head ends recidivism.
There's
Good guys
that.
1, bad guys nothing.
All right. Time now for a quick break here on the In Real Time Car Show. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Kick off summer with Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition, Saturday, June 18th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate Father's Day, the start of summer, and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, June 18th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Want to take a minute to tell you about Gulf Coast Auto Shield, a Houston detail company like no other. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, you'll want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install ExoShield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk Show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Conrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In Wheel Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In Wheel Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/In Wheel Time Car Talk.
Welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, how to prevent your catalytic converter from being stolen from Consumer Reports. Jeff brings you his pre-owned car of the week.
Cool.
The
car.
Meyers Manx. You ever heard of it?
Yeah.
You'll want to know about it if you've never heard about it. If you have heard about it, then you know about it.
And you'll learn about
It's
it.
the holy grail. We get some Hollywood glamour from LA's own Jack Nerad.
Oh, yeah.
We'll also have the stories making automotive news headlines this week, just ahead in this edition of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with David Ainsley. Mr. Mars is out today. King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate that. Let's go right now to Consumer Reports. Benjamin Preston, how to prevent your car's catalytic converter from being stolen and the precious metals that are inside of it. Hey, it's a great article you wrote. Got a chance to read it online at consumerreports.org. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Well, for starters, I don't think you're going to get a catalytic converter stolen out of your Meyers Manx.
That won't happen. I wouldn't imagine, since
doesn't have one.
No, well, yes, the original one doesn't. Although there have been conversions with other engines that may or may not have had it.
There goes my story.
Yeah, but at any rate, sorry.
At an electric Meyers Manx, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but that just doesn't have the pizzazz that a gasoline motor does.
You
but
need to hear
you ever
that.
worked on a Volkswagen engine?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who hasn't?
Because if you didn't, it wouldn't work, right?
Put on ching. There we go. There's the rim shot.
I had a couple of those cars, not the Manx, but just the Beetle.
Sure.
Anyway, so to prevent catalytic converter thefts, it's really just the same advice that we give anybody who's trying to avoid A, having their car stolen, or B, having the contents or parts stolen off of their car. Because there are a number of parts that are commonly stolen off of cars. Of course, we know wheels and tires. If you've ever looked at Craigslist looking for a set of rims or something, I mean, let's be honest, we don't have statistics, but half that stuff's probably stolen.
No, I would agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, park your car in a well-lit area if you can, highly trafficked and well-lit. If you're street parking, if you're parking in the driveway, if you have motion sensor lights or cameras or anything like that, that can definitely be helpful. If you have to park someplace where there are definitely going to be people cruising around at night, there might be other things you can do that'll cost money, but will cost less than a new catalytic converter. They have these these cable things that loop around the ends and go across the catalytic converter, or steel plates, things that make it more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult to steal the catalytic converter. So a thief will look under there, see that he or she can't cut the thing off in a quick couple of minutes with an electric sawzall, and we'll just move on to something easier, because I mean, like you were saying earlier, there's not a lot of money in reselling these things. It's just got to come from volume. So they probably want to work really, really quick and just grab as many as possible. That's why fleet owners have had a problem with this. You know, if they're parking in lots. Yeah, right. Like big trucks and stuff, they have big catalytic converters, and it's really easy to crawl under a truck and, you know, lop off the cats and just walk away with a lot full of converters.
So what vehicle lines did you find out were the most popular to steal?
Definitely Toyota Priuses, because they have two of them. They're very big, big converters. Pickup trucks, huge, because they have most new cars have a couple of catalytic converters, and pickup trucks are easy to crawl under.
Yeah, I tell anybody I know, especially if they drive a Toyota Tundra, which is one of the more popular ones to steal, park the passenger side as close to the curb as you can, like right on the curb. That makes it more difficult to get under. And the guy may just see yours and go, no, don't want to jack with that. I want one I can get off in 10 seconds, not one's going to take me 30 seconds to get off. So even something as simple as that can deter the guy that's driving through the neighborhood looking. But, you know, if they are adamant about stealing converters, they're going to take all they can.
Right. It's really, like you said, it's a deterrent thing. Anything that you can do to slow them down is going to reduce the likelihood that your catalytic converter or wheels or other parts are going to be stolen off your car. Tailgates are another big one.
Right.
Obviously now, you know, tailgates have cameras and other things inside of them. And it's not like you can just, I mean, I've ruined tailgates before where you go to the junkyard and you pay $35 for a new one, but now it's like a whole different thing.
With all the electronics.
Cost hundreds of dollars, if not more, to replace.
Well, you know, I kind of look at it as, do you remember the, I don't call it the two hooks kind of deal that you used to go to Walmart or Kmart and buy, go back, because everybody was breaking into steering column locks and stealing the vehicle, and it was this deal that you hooked underneath the brake pedal and you put the other part on the steering wheel, clamped them both together, and then undid it.
Yeah.
And it took nothing to get those off of there. However, I'll bet you there are thousands and thousands of vehicles that didn't get stolen because it took a couple of extra seconds to undo that. Yeah, to circumvent it.
Deterrent.
Yeah. And I would imagine
that brings up another part that can be stolen, which is the airbag. The steering wheel mounted airbag can be stolen too, because I mean, you were talking about repair shops with stacks of stolen catalytic converters. A repair shop could use stolen airbags to replace the airbags in an insurance job too. Correct. I'm not saying they would or wouldn't, but I'm sure that those disreputable businessmen are out there.
Well, and what we talked about at the end of the last hour was what's out there to help the law do something about these guys when they go in and they've got a stack of 40 airbags, or they have a stack of 40 clearly Sawzalled cut-off catalytic converters, because once they reach the repair shop, they can't prosecute the person who stole it because they're long gone. And here in Houston, they have no, the police have no recourse, there's no action they can take.
I mean, it really just varies so widely from state to state. Something that might be easier to do in Texas might be more difficult to do here in New York, because, we have a long sordid history of car and parts theft here, and the laws have followed that. So it's it could be somewhat more difficult in other states to, it could be a big violation to even have anything to do with those parts.
So besides these, shall we say, shields or preventive kind of applications that you can put on that section of the exhaust system to prevent a sawzall, or at least kind of
slow them down.
Yeah, slow them down. What else? I mean, we've heard about painting them and then putting the VIN number in them.
Etching.
I'm sure you could do that. I hadn't looked into that method. I think that our suggestions had sort of hewed more towards just being careful where you park. And thinking about that from a city perspective, because we're so close to New York City, there are blocks that are quieter than other blocks. And there are places where there's going to be more foot traffic even at night, and you could sort of figure out your odds. Okay, what neighbor's car has been broken into this month? You know, it's that kind of thing. I mean, you can definitely decrease your odds based on where you park.
So let's talk for a minute about the metals that are in there. And you had mentioned the metals, and there's basically 3 of them that seem to be worthy of stealing the catalytic converters. I can't imagine trying to scrape them out.
Extract it.
Yeah, extract it out of the catalytic converter, but I guess somebody does that.
I actually found a YouTube video, believe it or not, that shows how to do this. It's not something that the average Joe could do, I don't think. It's more kind of like there's a lot of chemistry involved. I mean, this guy was he was a chemistry guy, so it was more of a fun experiment for him. But he took out the crushed up chunks and the dust from the converter housing. You throw away the scrap, you know, ferrous metals aren't worth much. And you take all this dust, and then they dissolve the chemicals out with various chemical solutions. You dissolve the precious metals out. So at the end, you're left with different powders of different weights that you can separate.
So
again, kind of like pan mining for gold.
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
I
mean, if you look at the cost of some of these things, you know, platinum, I looked at the price this morning. It was close to $1,000 an ounce. Palladium was more than 2,000, and then rhodium's all over the place. I mean, it's very rare, but it can be as low as 8,000. Today it was 16.
Okay, so we get these extracted. I'm a chemist. I get them extracted. Now, who am I going to sell that to? I mean, the rhodium dealer down at the corner.
A rhodium R Us.
Yeah, he's behind the chevron.
He's behind the chevron. Seriously,
if you're the guy who's cutting them off with a sawzall, you're probably not going to be like shaking out the chunks and doing a chemistry experiment in your garage. You're probably just going to try to unload the things as quickly as possible to a plant that deals with that kind of stuff. And there have to be regulations in place from state to state that deal with who can buy that, who can do what with it. So it really comes back to where you live as to how easy or difficult it is to unload a catalytic converter.
So would it be somebody like a recycler that takes a catalytic converter, opens it up, does all of the chemistry stuff, and gets out?
Well, he might not even do all the chemistry stuff.
No.
He may extract the substrate and get rid of all the metal and sell the substrate to the next guy down the line, who crushes it into a dust, who sells it to the next guy down the line. It's probably multiple steps so they can extract these metals.
It sounds like a meth lab.
It is
to a
kind
degree.
of.
So do you find that, what percentage would you say of catalytic converters are stolen are sent to the metal extraction side versus are sent to the resale side
for replacement?
Because I stole your converter, you got to get it replaced?
I think that it really depends on where you live, because a metal extraction place probably isn't going to take that stuff in a small quantity for starters.
Okay.
Like, even if you have a bunch of guys sitting around shaking chunks out of catalytic converters all day, and you come over, it's probably not going to be something along the scale that you would see from a metal recycler who gets like thousands of these things every year and then sends them all in at once to be processed or whatever. And then there are going to be regulations. Who can they do business with? You have to have a special license for this in your state. It's really going to depend where you live.
So it's much more complicated than just a guy that goes. The guy that goes out there with the sawzall is really the dummy in the whole deal,
Yeah,
and
he's looking to make $30 to $50.
Yeah, that's it. And then it goes down the line from there. But I think that if you could stop the guy from stealing the thing to begin with, then maybe we might get a handle on it. Good luck.
My limited understanding of organized crime is that the highest risk jobs usually present the lowest reward. So I'm sure that guy's not getting much
And what
money.
part of organized crime have you been involved in the past?
I'm Italian.
Hey. He knows a guy.
Tony Two Thumbs.
Hey, he
right?
knows a guy.
Tony Two Thumbs.
Because he's got no other fingers. He's just got two thumbs. Hey!
Because we're cutting off the Sawzall accident.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the interesting information. Yeah, once you start drilling down into it and you figure out that we're talking about maybe a quarter of an ounce of this, a half an ounce of that, or a little bit
2 or 3 grams of this.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see the reward. Hey, I'm going to go pick up, $30 off of this catalytic converter, and I've risked my life and all my friends, and I don't get it. I just don't get it.
If you look at the amount of rhodium that's in a catalytic converter, it's 1 to 2 grams. That's still like $500, $600, $700 worth of precious metal there. You know, even though that's grams, it's still worth a lot of money when you figure that the price for an ounce is $16,000, $20,000.
Yeah, well, Don knows what a gram and an ounce is, but that's another story.
We got a scale in the back.
Yeah, I've gone to the electronic at least. Yeah. It's not the one with the dial on it anymore.
But it has become, in Texas, and I would assume everywhere, it's become extremely dangerous as a vehicle owner to confront them, because typically they do it in 2 or 3 guys are coming, one's under the car cutting it off, and the other 2 are playing lookout. Yeah. And in Houston, they're armed. So it's every weekend there's gunfire surrounding catalytic converter thefts in Houston. It's almost scary. Stay back. Don't confront them.
Call the police.
Call the police. They'll be there in 20 minutes.
And depending on the vehicle can be totaled out because the cats are removed. Because sometimes they have more than one. Obviously, they do.
Some have 2, some have 3, 4.
And then the cost of replacing that versus the value of the vehicle can be totaled out.
Well, I have to tell you, so I had a truck to drive here just not too long ago, and I was going to go to a part of town for dinner. I thought, I'm not taking the truck because I don't want to risk having to fill out all the forms on a press car that I get. Yeah, because somebody stole the catalytic converter.
And you don't know it until you get in after dinner and it fires up and it's open exhaust system, and that'll scare the daylights out of you.
Exactly. So, I mean, use a little forethought. And when you get out and gone on a Saturday night to dinner, don't park it in some place that you're not familiar with.
Well, even places, though, you are familiar with, the Walmart up there at Spring Cypress off of 249, there's catalytic converters stolen there every weekend, and it may be 7, 8, or 9 of them are stolen in one fell swoop. Like I said, it doesn't take them 2 minutes to cut your converters off because they jump under. It takes
seconds
with the Sawzall and cut it off, and then they throw it in, and off they go to the next one.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up before we let you go, Benjamin, is the fact that Consumer Reports, yes, become a member, spend the little amount of money that it takes to become a member of Consumer Reports. Great information there. But there's also, like your report, I can get your report without having to pay any money. And there are other tips and great information on consumerreports.org.
Yeah, I'd like to mention that we test everything scientifically. We buy all of our cars and the things that we test. So you can count on us being objective and,
So what specifically do you do there?
I'm an autos reporter, so I cover a lot of things having to do with car sales, used car sales, any kind of mechanic stuff. I'm a shade tree mechanic myself, so
the information you gather goes into one of the reports that folks can look at.
Or do you write articles specific to your?
I write articles, but I use a lot of our data to write these articles because we have so much data from testing that we can actually use that to help consumers make informed choices.
ConsumerReports.org. Benjamin, great to talk to you. Let's talk again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us here at the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com. Time now for the racing calendar. I know that you've got Formula One that Jeff is all anxious to hear about. When that's going to...
I'm going to step out. I'm going to go to the break room.
Well, NHRA is at New England the weekend of the 3rd through the 5th.
They're off this weekend?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Again.
And then they're going to be at Bristol, which is always a great place to race, and that's going to be June 17th through the 19th. NASCAR is in Kansas tomorrow. They're going to be in Texas on the 22nd, Charlotte on the 29th, which is the World 600. And Formula One is in the Spanish Grand Prix is next weekend. And then the Monaco Grand Prix is again the 29th, which is Memorial Weekend. So Memorial Weekend, if you're just a junkie like me, you can watch Monaco F1 early in the morning. You can watch the Indy 500 late morning to early evening, and then you can watch the World 600 in Charlotte in late evening. And sleep through half of it.
Well, and there's that, and also get an appointment the next day for your chiropractor because your head's going to be doing
round
it.
and round. IMSA on June the 3rd, they're going to be racing at Belle Isle in Detroit.
Yeah, isn't it this last year for it?
I believe so. And then on the 4th, Belle Isle is going to have the Indy cars running.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gulf Coast Racing Series season starts July 2nd out at Houston Motorsports Park. And they are going to have a Spec Miata race with a $5,000 purse for Spec Miatas. I think you can buy some Spec Miatas for $5,000.
A couple of them.
If you have one, get a hold of Richard Tomlin at Apex Motorworks and get yourself registered for that race.
Yep.
Time now to look at Jeff's car of the week, and it would be the Meyers Manx.
Meyers Manx.
You know, it was only built for a short period of time, relatively speaking. But I understand that I don't know what it is now, but yeah, I think that you can still buy them.
You can, and it wasn't necessarily under 10 grand for this one. It's summertime, and everybody's out. People going to the beach. You see the Galveston reports and everything. So I thought this would be a fun one to do.
Absolutely.
The Meyers Manx is a dune buggy. It's a small recreational-oriented automobile, initially designed by California artist, engineer, boat builder, and surfer, Bruce F. Meyers. He produced it in a Fountain Valley, California company called B.F. Meyers and Company. From 64 to 71 was the main construction days or the years of that. It's a kit car. It's a shortened Volkswagen chassis. The production went from 64 to 65. The prototype where there were 12 built. From 65 to 71, there was about 6,000 and about 2,000 present building of them. Now, you can find an old beat-up one for few $1,000s. You can get a professionally done Manx for, mid-teens, $15,000-$16,000. He's an inventor, grew up in California. He was the surfing scene. He drove a 1930 vintage Ford to the beach with a surfboard, did all the surfboard stuff with kids back then. But he also constructed a 42-foot fiberglass catamaran that he did sail. He sailed it around quite a bit of the world. Came back and then started saying, dabbling in the hot rods and things of that nature, and brought back the Manx for that. Old Red, the previous shots that we're looking at, Old Red had the tanks on it.
I dated her one time.
Old Red. Okay. It was based on a Volkswagen.
Kept her shoes.
Yeah. The pumps. So he wanted to get into Ferdinand's Porsche original design and the lightweight vehicle and capable off-road vehicle. He kind of canvassed and cannibalized some Chevrolet pickups, specifically the trailing arms, so that he could put them on the vehicle itself. So it was great that he did that. It was a lot of hot rodding back then and a lot of surfing. In fact, that shot you see right there, that's Mike doing the on-road or on-ramp testing.
On-ramp acceleration.
Yep. So it was announced back in 2020 that he did sell the company. He sold it to Trousdale Ventures, and there he went on to pass away in 2021.
And how old was he?
He was 94.
I hope to live that long.
Now, in 2016, he was on Jay Leno's Garage with the original red Manx.
Well, and a true Meyers Manx is extremely collectible today.
Yes, it is.
His boat building time is what
fiberglass
gave him the skills to build these bodies.
Yep.
And after he started it, everybody else joined.
Can you buy a kit?
I don't think you can buy a Manx anymore.
No, but you can buy parts of it, and there's probably aftermarket guys out there that will do that. But an actual original Manx, they are pricey. If you find one.
No, I don't want the original. I just assume.
Yeah, you can still buy dune buggy bodies.
Yeah.
Might not be a Manx, but they all have a similar look, and they all strap onto a Volkswagen.
But the Manx was way ahead of its time because all of the other aftermarket Manxes, if you will,
him.
had the same basic body design because it was so simple and so clever. I mean, one mold and it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And next week I've got something kind of different. I'm going to do James Dean's car that he
The
lost
Porsche?
His, yeah, he lost his life, and I got a story of that for next week.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, I
Not to impede on your stuff.
I have to tell you that my brother-in-law moved down here from Wisconsin in a 1954 Chevrolet 3/4-ton utility truck. Had the utility boxes on the side. It was all rusted up, and it was just awful. Had a 235 Blue Flame 6 in it.
Mhm.
That was the vehicle that I was in the process of, never finished it, turning it into a dune buggy. Now, you're going to go, what?
Let's have a 3,000-pound dune buggy.
So the
And
utility,
that's lightweight.
On the Bonneville Salt Flats.
so the utility box came off first, and then the cab and fenders and all of that. So all I had was a frame and a motor and wheels and suspension. Okay, and my dad worked at Waukesha Motor Company and knew a guy that was handy with a torch. So
Stealing catalytic converters, but they didn't have them back then yet.
And so the truck was so long, it had a 2-piece drive shaft with a yoke in the middle,
Yeah.
right? So I said, let's just take the yoke out of the middle of it and take one piece of the drive shaft out and
Oh,
shorten
boy.
it up that much. It was short. Once we got finished with it, it was short. I took the wheels, had some new rims put on the wheels with, I don't know, 16 lug wheels or something. I don't remember what they were. It was a lot. And I had some great big wide rims put on those wheels. And I put some farm implement tires on the back that were massive. They were this wide.
There's a wheel stander.
It was a wheel stander. And it had a 4-speed with a granny first gear. And I put 2 one-barrel carburetors on that 6-cylinder.
And wide open throttle and granny, it'd go 4 miles an hour.
It would.
But boy, it'd get there in a hurry.
Straight up like this. And I had more fun. And what I did is I took the bed, cut the bed in 2 pieces. So at least I had a floorboard up here and the back of it. Of course, none of it was really long at all, just to kind of have something hanging across the top of the frame. I had more fun with that thing, driving it around the block and pulling wheelies. That 3/4 race cam, 2.
Oh man!
I had 2 Rochester 1-barrels on an
Offenhauser.
manifold.
That was the manifold of
dual
choice.
point distributor, Mallory. I had it all fixed up. That thing.
Whatever happened to it?
I sold it. I wound up selling it because I never finished it. I got into a radio career and stayed in my parents' garage forever. And I finally said,
He's one of them.
I am one of those.
He lived in his parents' garage
No, I
until he
didn't.
was 53.
No,
No, 63.
63. That's what it was. Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on iHeart Radio, Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts available from your favorite podcast channel. And the In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Kick off summer with Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition, Saturday, June 18th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate Father's Day, the start of summer, and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, June 18th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Want to take a minute to tell you about Gulf Coast Auto Shield, a Houston detail company like no other. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, you'll want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install Exo Shield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk Show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Conrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In Wheel Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In Wheel Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/In Wheel Time Car Talk.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeartRadio. Coming up, Conrad has the Car Clinic. We'll have this week's auto news and more award-winning car talk, along with a very interesting conversation that we're going to have to a dear friend of ours out on the West Coast. Howdy. Along with David Ainsley, sitting in for Mike, and King Conrad DeLong, along with We Need More, Jeff Zekin. Yep. I'm Don Armstrong. Now let's go direct to Hollywood. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jack Nerad.
As he runs back to his chair, he was over getting a cup of coffee.
Oh, my goodness. Were you getting coffee there, Jack?
And he's muted, too.
You're muted, by the
Jack.
way. You need to
Unmute your mic.
Unmute your microphone. Can we hear you now?
I'm trying to keep the dog from barking.
Oh,
that's all
right. Our dog's sitting right over here. It's all good.
Yeah, I know. I see your dog every time I'm on the show, and I'm envious.
Well,
and,
it's not a dog.
Our dog is here, but
did you
I'm the Lone Ranger today, so I've got the dog, and who knows?
Okay, well, did you like your new title, Mr. Hollywood?
That's my old title.
Oh.
That goes way, way back.
What is it this week?
Grand High Exalted Mystic Ruler.
Grand High Exalted Mystic
Write that
Ruler.
down. I'm going to spell that.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. And, you know, I told everybody I'm so excited we're going to have Jack on the air.
We're always excited to have Jack on.
Yep. But I wanted to, first question out of the box, how much is gasoline today where you are?
I think it's really around $6 a gallon, something like that. And I've seen it over $7. My wife took a picture of a gas station where it was like $7.29 or something like that, up toward Beverly Hills. It's crazy amount of money. It just really is.
I paid $4.29 yesterday, and I thought I got a deal.
Yeah, I paid $4.25 earlier this week, and I went to a Kroger because it was on the way. And I was appalled at $4.25 because once I got over there to my neck of the woods where I work near the airport, I saw it for $4.19. I thought I got ripped off. I hate getting ripped off.
I siphoned a couple gallons out of David's car this morning.
That's good to know. So, Jack, is that the big buzz out there in California? Is the price of gas or no?
It's one of the big buzzes out here, certainly. I mean, people are scared about that. And it's interesting, the reaction. Some people are buying electric cars, which I don't know is really an economical solution to this, to spend thousands more for a vehicle because you're afraid of paying a few dollars more for gasoline. It's a conundrum, right? I mean, people are facing, like, what do you do? Here you are. Prices are crazy, and it's really hurting commuters. I mean, it's obvious who it's hurting, and you wonder who it's benefiting. I can't. It's happening not because we don't have energy. That is the frustrating thing. We have oil, we have gas. We're just not letting ourselves use it. And there's a faction that doesn't want that to happen. And I don't know who that benefits.
Well, so let's talk about the EV phenomenon. And everybody's going, well, maybe it's time for us to check into EVs. have you gotten that buzz that EV inquiries are up across all of the dealers out there in California?
Yeah, they're definitely up, and I think surveys indicate they're up too. I'm pretty close to the JD Power people, and I see some of their surveys, and they're indicating that a lot more people are considering EVs than ever before, which kind of makes sense that you would consider. And when you're taking a survey, it's pretty easy to say, well, yeah, I'd consider that. What is less easy to do is, put down your money, right? When the vehicle is significantly more expensive and has limitations or puts limitations on you that you might not want to have. I mean, I think we've all driven EVs, and I personally love to drive them. I've got a Kia EV6 in my driveway right now as my test vehicle for this week, and it's a blast to drive.
And it's gorgeous.
But, there's things about it that are just, painful to have to deal with, and range is the key one.
Well, yeah, and the fact that I think that most people don't really truly understand. It's okay. They don't truly understand that driving an electric car, and it has a cost to it. If nothing else, it's the cost of the electricity that you have to put back in the car after you drive it. And everybody kind of loses track of that fact when they find their first electric bill comes in after they've driven it for a few hundred miles. And wait a minute, my electric bill just shot up by another $75 a month. Oh, wonder what that could be. Is it the EV? Yes,
Don't
it
forget
is.
to turn off the lights when you leave the room.
Yeah, I think that most people don't really consider that. I think, I think EV is the way to go. There was a story that we actually talked about here on our show, and I know that you've seen the same thing, where people have compared the actual cost of owning a EV, including gasoline cars, in comparison, and actually costs more to own an EV. That was about a month ago when we actually did the math on it, and it was costing more at the time to own the EV and to keep it going with electricity.
Well, and one thing people don't realize is, or they should realize, but electricity is typically generated by fossil fuels.
Yeah, by coal. Yeah.
Most often. So the fact that I think some people think electricity comes out of this receptacle in the wall, and that's where it is.
She's in Congress.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in the White House too. I mean, heaven knows, what's happening here in terms of fuel prices and EVs. Like I say, the drivability of an EV is terrific, but some of the things about it are just painful.
You mentioned the car that you're currently driving, that EV6. A friend of mine, a fellow journalist, Michael Garfield, I went over to his house, who doesn't live too far from me out here in Sugar Land, and he has the new EV6. My gosh, it's a gorgeous vehicle.
What? He's muted. You're muted again, Jack.
You muted yourself, Jack.
Yeah, I muted myself to keep the dog from barking.
It's all right. Don't worry about
it. But it is a gorgeous vehicle. I mean, it's a more substantial. It's one of those things where you have to see it, right? I mean, if you don't see it in the flesh, in the sheet metal, you don't really grasp how interesting looking it is. I've got one that's kind of a matte finish, silver, which is really striking. It's really a striking vehicle, and for an EV, I think it's quite a good value. That said, a comparable vehicle with gasoline is probably $10,000 or $15,000 less expensive.
Yeah, and what is the range on that?
I think the range, it depends on the powertrain you have in it. You can get it with all-wheel drive or rear drive, I think, and the ranges differ. I think the highest range is up toward 300 miles on a charge, and then the lesser one is around 250. And, I've asked this question, of some of my colleagues, like, what's the right number for range? And when I think about it for myself, I don't know that there is a right number, because with a gasoline car, you have unlimited range, right? You can fill it up anytime you want, pretty much, and you can go as far as you want. If you want to drive 1,000 miles in a day, you can, virtually without stopping, or with stopping, 5 minutes at a time. With an electric car, you'd have to stop 40 minutes,
at least
50 minutes, an hour. You'd have to find a charging station. You'd have to hope that fast charge station is available, not being utilized by somebody else, that it's working. I think that's one of the untold things about EVs these days. You have all these unattended charging stations, right? Nobody is there. You don't have like somebody who runs the gas station. And a lot of them aren't working at any one time. So it's problematic.
And if you look real closely, somewhere behind a concrete fence is a diesel generator that's powering
right,
all of those charging stations.
So, Jack, one of the things, and since you're in California, one of the things that comes to my mind, I've been to LA many times, and the famous 405, I'm thinking about commuting, and I live, let's just say, 30 miles from work in LA, and I got to use the 405, and my hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and yes, I have to sit in that big wad of traffic every day, morning and afternoon drive. And I've got my electric car.
Don lives in Malibu, and he's driving to Riverside every day.
Well, Don is talking about my life for 20 years. I mean, I commuted from a beach city down to Irvine, California, about 40 miles each way for 20 years. And so if you're in a vehicle, even with 200 miles of range, but there's a vehicle with 100 miles of range, 150 miles of range, you're just worried about range the entire time you're in the car. And you're always worried about recharging. And those of us who had electric cars where I used to work were always vying for the one charging station at the company, right? And almost to the point of sometimes fist fights over who was going to be able to charge.
Yeah, well, I've only got 17%. Well, I've got 16%, so I get the charger.
Well, and that was my point, is the fact that, you're stuck in traffic. And even though the car may not be moving, you've got the air conditioning running, you got the radio going, maybe the lights going, depending on the time of year. And all of that's drawing energy from those batteries. So it's got 250 miles of range. I go 80 miles round trip, and it's sucking juice the entire time. So you get stuck on the track. And God forbid that there's a wreck, which always there's a wreck, and you get stuck and the commute is even longer, you get worried about being able to make it back home on the single charge.
Yep, you're muted again.
Yeah, he's trying to.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, and I'm trying to limit the barking that's in your ear again.
You're all right.
But you're always limited in a lot of ways. Certainly I don't want to just slam on EVs. There's a lot to like about them. There's a lot I like about them. I think they're not to the point where they're going to replace the gasoline car for the typical person out there from the economic point of view and strictly from the convenience point of view. And I think people are willing to pay for convenience, but they're not all that convenient. You have to put yourself through a lot of mental gymnastics and physical gymnastics to get them to work for you.
Yeah, I could see an EV being a second car, could be your primary depending on what your drive cycle is every day, but I could see the EV as being a second vehicle, and you got to have an ICE-powered car, as your primary because, that's the one you're going to take a trip out of where you're living, up to Yosemite or up to Utah or something. Because you're surely not going to drive an EV all the way to Vegas.
So let's change subjects before we wrap up our conversation today, Jack, and that is that, so you're currently driving the EV6. What are your thoughts on it?
On that car?
Yeah.
I like it a lot, given the fact that it has limitations. I think it's one of the best values of the EVs out there. It's kind of rocketed up toward the top of the EV sales numbers right now. And I think for good reason. It's good looking. It's interesting that it's on the same platform as the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And it seems to have gotten a lot more attention than the Ioniq 5. And I don't know whether it's a styling thing. I think stylistically, I like the EV6 significantly better. I think there's a lot to like about it. I totally agree that an EV as a second car makes a heck of a lot more sense than as a primary vehicle. Mm-hmm. And then people drive vehicles different ways, right? I mean, I like putting in 500 miles a day, 600 miles a day sometimes. And I can do that without any problem. I drive up to San Luis Obispo and back in a day. It's 400 miles round trip, and I don't bat an eye doing it and spend time up there with my daughter who's going to college up there. So that wouldn't work in an EV. It would be pretty difficult in an EV.
Yeah. So as far as the current trend and obviously the limitations that we currently have going on as far as chips and availability of vehicles, what would you offer somebody that's actually out there looking? Would you suggest that they go and really see what's out there as far as new is concerned, or would you encourage them to really try to mine what's out there as far as used vehicles are concerned?
I've always been a proponent of used vehicles anyway. I think 2-year-old vehicles or 2 or 3-year-old vehicles off lease are among the best values out there. Somebody else has taken the biggest depreciation, so I'd look to those. Unfortunately, there aren't a ton of those out there, and there won't be either in the next couple of years, because as we have a lower sales year, then 2 years down the road, that trickles down obviously into the used car market. But I think those are still good values. Those are things to look at. I see some manufacturers who have limited supply of new vehicles helping their dealers by advertising certified pre-owned cars. I think those are good values. The difficulty we're all running into as people who want to buy cars is there's limited supply both on the used side and on the new side. So
and that along with high demand means higher prices.
Absolutely. And you hear the stories of vehicles going well over MSRP, new vehicles going well over MSRP. I saw a statistic, and a pretty realistic statistic, I believe, that 65% of the new vehicles sold right now are being sold at over suggested retail price. I mean, you never used to see that. I mean, this is a total fantasy land kind of market these days.
And seeing some used vehicles, depending on year, make, model, and mileage, are selling at or above MSRP on the used side of things as well, because
the people are making out are people who had a lease 2 or 3 years ago, right? And the residual comes up, and they could probably buy that car and then sell it for $2 or $3 grand more, just like that.
If the dealer will let them. I know there's been a couple of news articles out there where some of the dealers won't let them, or they start adding other fees to it on the buyout side.
Well, yeah, which I would contend, depending on your state and legalities, that might be illegal for them to do, or they might be putting.
It's the car business, Jack.
I mean, the contract says this. It's a contract, right? I mean, the residual is written into the sales guy, into the lease contract.
Getting back to the gas prices, I heard a report here in Houston that there are gas station owners in Washington State that are manipulating or trying to figure out a way to put another digit in their electronic signs for their gas stations. In other words, $10 a gallon.
Well,
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised about anything that happens in Washington State anyway.
I'm old enough to remember in the 70s when they went from 99 cents was the most, and then they had to add the extra. And now I'm talking about the old wheels that spun around as well.
It was 1870s.
And then they had to add the extra digit to it. So now they're having to add that fourth digit to it. I'm not surprised in the least.
So, Jack, what have you got on the calendar here in the next month heading into summer?
Well, I'm actually headed to Texas. Toyota is doing a big event at their headquarters in Plano the first part of June. So I will be headed there. And, that's my next big trip. I'm excited about that. I think there's going to be interesting stuff revealed there. They've let me in on some of that stuff that I can't tell you, or, I'd have to kill myself.
You can. You're just not allowed to.
Yeah.
Well, I know they've announced a 25th anniversary Sienna silver package, so it's going to be a pretty high contented Sienna. But it'd be interesting to see what else they're going to introduce. The GR Corolla looks like a beast. A 300 horsepower Corolla, little SUV thing. What a hot rod that appears to be.
Yeah, there's going to be some cool stuff, so I'm excited about that.
Jack,
and I'm always excited to come to Texas.
Well, I'm going to say, we're only about 200 and some odd miles away from North
Just an
Texas.
EV charge away.
Yeah. That's exactly
right. Yeah.
We have electricity down here.
What
sometimes?
What, by the way, is the latest website you're directing us to get all the Jack Nerad goodies that we got?
I think drivingtoday.com is a good place to see Jack Nerad goodies, and of course, America on the Road is the radio broadcast that I co-host. So those are the ways to get more of me if you can stand it.
Oh, God.
And maybe less of my dog.
We can't get enough of Jack Nerad. And, Jack, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure as always. Take care of yourself. Good luck on your Texas trip here in June, and we will see you soon.
Dress
Great
cool.
to talk to all of you. I apologize for my dog.
No. Love hearing the dog.
I'll rein him in better next time.
What's the dog's name?
His name is Austin. He's 16, and he's kind of cranky like us old guys.
Oh, we got a panel of those here.
Yeah, we got 4 of us here. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, you take care. Thank you.
Jack Nerad.
Always a wealth of information.
Awesome.
Driving today and America on the road.
$7 a gallon for gas.
Did you win the bet? You said under or over?
No, I was over 6.
Okay.
Things not on cars anymore. And I tried to do this last week. And so Conrad, I couldn't get the information on the computer because my computer's got too much going on over there, and it didn't like that.
Well, I don't know if that kind of set in my head, and that's why I chose this for a topic or not. I didn't mean to step on you.
No, you did not. Please, I'd like to say yay or nay on the things that aren't on cars anymore.
Everybody knows some of those things that aren't on cars, but let's think of some of the simple ones. Audio turn signals. It used to be you'd hear the click, 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 click of the circuit breaker kicking back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone. Now it's all this digital ding, ding, ding stuff.
If there's even that.
So that's why sometimes, Mars would be driving down the highway for 64 miles with his left turn signal on, and he hadn't done anything about it.
In the right lane.
Ashtrays are long gone.
Well, cigarette lighters in addition to that.
Well, cigarette lighters as a lighter is gone,
right,
but the power source is still there.
But
don't plug a lighter into it. You'll melt it.
Yeah, because it's a different thing.
Amperage.
Yes.
Right.
How about antennas?
Radio antennas, used to be you'd had the big long whip, and, Don had that on his pickup truck, and he had the the raccoon tail flowing over it, or the jack-in-the-box head on top of it. Those are long gone. Now what you'll see on cars are those little aerodynamic. They're 3 or 4 inches tall.
Like a wedge.
And I think those are more for...
I tore one right off of a Ram pickup truck trying to get into the garage.
Oh, it was too tall?
Just that much.
That's all it takes.
That's all it took.
Vent windows. Wing windows, long gone. Now, I had wing windows on the Transit I had, but they didn't open, So, things you really don't think a lot about. Teenagers would probably like to know about hand-cranked windows. There are still some hand-cranked windows out there, but few and far between.
Right.
You're going to find them on, like, fleet trucks and stuff. Before seatbelts were included in cars, you had bench seats. I think you can still get this combo bench seat
60/40,
in pickup trucks, but generally everybody drives with the center armrest down. That's what I have in my Tahoe, but I drive with that center section down because I want the armrest and the cup holders. And then what about all the different audio stuff through the years? Record players back in the early 60s, Chrysler, Pontiac, literally had a record player that would spin around inside the car that you could play.
But you couldn't play anything over 45.
No, if you drove 60 miles an hour, you couldn't hear it. Oh! Ding-ching. And then it moved to 8 tracks.
Yes.
And then it moved to cassettes.
All gone.
And then it moved to CD players.
All gone.
And all of that's gone anymore. Really, you can't find any of it. What about manual chokes?
Oh my gosh, yes. My truck had a manual choke.
But that goes back to early.
That
goes back to early 60s.
Yeah.
I would think. What other things can you think of that are gone?
Well, you pretty much covered them all that I could think of.
Well, if you've got some other ideas of some things that are gone in cars, send us a question at info@inwheeltime.com. Post it on our Facebook page. I'll post a separate thing out in the general Facebook page to ask that question.
I got mother-in-law in the back seat.
Okay.
Gone.
Well, Don's had 3 different ones.
Oh.
What about keys? You know, there's still some with keys, but most everybody's moved to key fobs.
My Corvette's got a key in the dash, not even on the steering column.
In the dash.
It's in the dash. And then once you turn it and the car comes alive, it unlocks the lock inside the steering column.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's been recalled 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
we can change that out in my
That
shop.
was a $700 fix.
Wow.
Yeah, no thanks. All right, some of the stories making automotive news headlines. U.S. traffic deaths jumped 10.5% last year to almost 43,000 people, the highest number killed on American roads in a single year since 2005. Yearly increase is the highest reported since NHTSA began using its current traffic fatality tracking system in 1975. And,
Wow.
So
I wonder what do they attribute that to? Just more people on the road?
that basically
COVID?
It's COVID related because remember nobody was on the roads.
Everything's COVID related.
Because everybody people stayed home.
Well,
And-
and
It skewed the numbers.
they're more prone to accidents because they have the mask on their face.
Well, it's not necessarily
Alone in the
that.
car.
It's because they are speeding. That's the number one thing. Hyundai, so solidly number 2 in the U.S. electric vehicle market in the first quarter, will plow $5.5 billion into its first dedicated EV factory in the world, and that is going to be in Elabel, Georgia. So,
Well, congratulations, Georgia.
And they're going to make a bunch of electric vehicles there. And 10 out of 18 midsize light vehicles are in good ratings in the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's new side impact evaluation. If you want more information on that.
Did you hear Cadillac is going to release a V-Series Escalade? It's Jeff's next car.
Yeah.
Yes, we mentioned that a couple of weeks ago.
EV Escalade.
And the plant in Georgia, Brandon announced that yesterday when he was in South Korea.
Great. Thank you. Quick break now. We'll wrap things up on today's show after this.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Kick off summer with Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition, Saturday, June 18th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate Father's Day, the start of summer, and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, June 18th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Want to take a minute to tell you about Gulf Coast Auto Shield, a Houston detail company like no other. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, you'll want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install ExoShield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk Show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Conrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In Real Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In Real Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/In Real Time Car Talk.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's In Real Time Car Talk Show.
Yeah.
When you're on our Facebook page, please give us a like. Tell your friends about us. If you would, please share our junk. You'll get Conrad's unicorn hunting features all along with everything automotive all week long, including upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing, and other goodies. You can find the In Real Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeart Radio app. In Real Time can also be heard live on Facebook, YouTube, and InRealTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11. 30-minute podcasts available from your favorite podcast providers 7 days a week. The In Real Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Our Marketing Advertising Manager and Video Technical Director is We Need More, Jeff Zekin. For Booking Agent and Podcast Editor, Mike Out of This World Mars is Royalty, King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. Today's In Real Time Car Talk Show was produced and manipulated through the Ouija board from the 1940s. Be sure to join us again for our next live In Real Time Car Talk Show next Saturday, May 28th, starting at 8 a.m. Central on all of these In Real Time Car Talk outlets. Right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network. So long for now, everybody.